factory car now.
For the moment.
For the moment, yeah. I think it does have some radials on the back of it from what I could just see there.
Just so you boys know, I'm trying to cause a little bit of havoc down here.
Are you stirring?
But everything's, yeah, it's all in friendly fire though, Steve.
That's all right.
But no, I'm keen, man. So if you're on Facebook or YouTube and you're watching all the live stream, I'll tell you what, guys, let us know, particularly Pat and Steve, let us know if you're a V8 fan, maybe a straight 6 Barra fan, or if you love your 4-cylinder imports like I do. Let us know, who do you reckon's going to get it happening tonight? So far, I think the imports are taking over tonight because obviously the Evos are on fire. The Subis are doing quite well as well. But you know, you never know, like the homegrown Barra might come out and surprise a few people. We got Snappy coming out now in the aeroflow lane up against Boost. Well, I think Snappy might just have it, although the Falcon is coming back at him. No, Snappy has got it. All right, King 2J about to take on Lag. So let us know if you are a 2J fan, hashtag 2J the world. Let us know on the live stream, or if you're up in the crowd and you've also got your phone on, let us know, guys. Or if you love the old homegrown Falcon.
Well, definitely a bit of brake boosting happening from King 2J there. It was on fire coming out of the hole. So, yeah, couple of strong contenders there. 180 kph versus 184 in the rocket lane for the Barra. So, bit of JDM versus Aussie 6-cylinder turbo crime happening down the strip there.
I was going to say that would have been a really good run there, but both cars have already run similar times, so it's just a matter of getting the start nice and even. As you say, the Supra came out there and riding the brake to try and get a bit of boost up.
Yep.
And
definitely achieved that.
Yeah, it did. And when it came on song, just breaking traction a little bit there about the 60-foot mark and allowing that Falcon to draw up beside, but managing to stay in front.
Definitely. Couple of Corollas by the looks of things, with some spicy engine combinations.
Yeah, that's fat down there, guys, in the aeroflow lane, and got more street rubber on the rear end of it. Now, I just got asked by the guy in the yellow 400Z why I'm not racing tonight. I think he just wanted to beat me, just quietly. But he asked me, he said, "What are you doing, Stu? Why are you working? You should have your helmet. You should be racing." I said, "Oh, I've got work to do." Mate. All right, Kure up against this Subaru. I think the Subi, oh no, I don't think he does. No, I think Kure's got it. Go the master.
Stu, I reckon that could be you next roll drags. I think we just need to go down and find Mick down at Speed for Sale. Get one of those little blue bottles, strap it in the back of the 2, and you know, get it on the bottle, mate.
I think I'll blow my engine up if I
don't worry about that.
You
don't worry about it. You don't think about those. That's the problem, Stu. You're overthinking it.
It's modern technology, mate. We can pull a bit of timing out when it comes in. Hell, we'll even strap an injector in front of the throttle body and just make it happen, you know. I'm sure we can put a wet shot in there.
Yeah, Pat might even be able to get you a little bit of a nitro as well.
Yeah,
yeah.
Mate, I reckon a Mazda 2 with a bit of crackle, that's, you know.
That would be a world first, wouldn't it? Mazda 2 on nitro.
We'll find out just how good those pistons are.
We'll just mix it 50-50, bit of methanol, bit of nitro, mate. A bit of a crackle out of the 2. She'll be on, Stu.
Maybe I could borrow Ben's Mercedes, you know, and I could use that. That's a little bit quicker.
Let's just nitro all of the things. I reckon that's probably the solution.
That's a good idea.
Right? Yeah.
Maybe Graham will let me borrow one of his fuel altereds and we'll put like radials on it, and I might be able to do that.
Yeah, why not? You'll fit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're pretty snug for someone like me, Stu, but you'll just get straight into one of those cars.
All right, the Sylvia about to take on the Falcon. Now, I spoke to Sammy Joe down in the pits too, Steve, and she said, we wanted to fix it. So talking about the Red Commodore, they wanted to fix it. They got home, they found out it wasn't as bad as what they thought. They scrounged up some parts, got the car fixed this afternoon, put it on the trailer and brought it straight out here. They said they did not want to miss the first event for the roll drags. As we got the Evo up against the Falcon.
Well, The Evo controlling the start there, but the Falcon's going to drive on past. The light's gone green. A little bit of a wiggle at about the 60-foot mark. And marches on through for 177 k's an hour through the finish line.
Great race there. And you could see that Evo, as you mentioned, Bushy, was controlling that speed. It had a little bit lower, which I think caught the Falcon off guard a little bit because it's come on, obviously, a lot of torque from the 4-litre barra. And it started to turn the tyres and had a bit of an IRS wiggle as it's coming through, traditionally the 60-foot mark or just past. So yeah, there's definitely going to be some different ways of going about this and some mind games between the lanes to sort of psych each other out.
All right, the Type R taking on the Monaro in this one. Type R taking the lead in the Aeroflow lane.
Yeah, the Honda taking it up to the Monaro. I think the Honda's got it. Yes, he does. I'll tell you what, if there's Honda fans out there, they would be cheering. All right, Sammy Joe coming out now against the Area 51 Holden Ute. These guys love their drag racing and they're great supporters of Aeroflow Race for Real. They haven't got the Caprice here tonight, I don't think.
Yes, the
is here,
Area 51 car.
Yep.
That one. Yes, it's done a run, yep. So both these competitors were here last night.
Oh yeah, here it comes.
Sammy's going to take the win.
Great commitment for getting that car out. Stu, did they say what it was that actually happened last night? Was it just a drive shaft or something like that?
Tail shaft, apparently.
Wow. Tail shaft, get it out, get a new one in and come back to the track. They are our people, mate.
All right, it is time for Holden versus Ford. It's time for, well, if Mark Thomas was here, I'd say Mark Thomas versus Stephen Bush. I reckon we've got to get that happening, actually. They got the Falcon with the radials up against a nitrous-assisted Statesman.
I think the Falcon's got it, Stu.
Well, I think he does. That is one for the Ford fans.
Next up, a pair of GM products. We've got the Chevelle. Oh, the Chevelle looks like it's turning away from the tunnel there, Pat.
Yeah, looks like it might have had run into a little bit of a drama, which is okay. The track officials will help out. We might just hold proceedings just for a moment to make sure that everyone's safe.
So I'm a little bit surprised tonight, guys. We've only got one Nissan GTR out here. I was expecting there to be a whole flotilla tonight because, normally when they come out, they like to assert their dominance. But, yeah, it's not there, not to be tonight.
The night is only young, though, Stu.
It is only young, but we've got a Mustang coming out now. Speaking about Mustangs, I got a message from Paul Galvin today asking about the event. So I reckon Galvo would be good at this. He used to be good back in the early days. I reckon he could ruffle a few feathers if he brought his Mustang out.
Yeah, he's got a couple of quick cars, hasn't he?
He sure does. All right, we're going to have Ford versus Holden, the Mustang up against the VK.
That VK is super aggressive, isn't it, Stu?
Yeah. It certainly is, and all naturally aspirated as well. So, plenty more to come for that car, I think, in the future.
I guess the advantage with a NA car, you've got you'll have the initial jump.
Yep.
You'd have the similar thing, obviously, with a supercharger, but the NA is going to be an instant power, unless you're waiting for a cam to come on. But
but usually once you're rolling, especially if you're in auto, there's a good chance that you'll be right around where the cam wants to be. But yeah, definitely no lag to be seen in that application. Just by nature, the naturally aspirated mode is probably not going to pull quite as hard across the top end of the track. Which is where the turbo cars are going to come in. So I think there's going to be plenty of battles between NA, Nitro, supercharged, turbo, all-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder, V8.
Yes, the combinations are pretty much endless.
And we've got one of everything here tonight,
pretty much
as well, which is great to see. So hope everyone's having a good time. I think the only thing that people are going to struggle with tonight maybe is whether or not they brought enough fuel.
Yes.
the amount of passes that we've got on some of these cars already, non-stop action.
I've noticed, boys, you know, we talk about in drag racing, Steve and Pat, we've seen it many a time how they have a burn down in pro stock when they play in the game. Well, there's a few people down here tonight that are playing the game in the entry onto the track. That last pass, they were coming in pretty quick. This time, these guys just a little bit slower before they send it. So there's a bit of cat and mouse going on, and I like that.
It's kind of like the old staging battle, Stu, you're right. You know, people are sort of going a little bit slower, a little bit quicker, coming up to the line, so trying to psych each other out or catch people out, you know, not being exactly where their car wants to be for the launch. Now, I'll tell you what, Stu, I don't know if you can see it, but this grey Supra that's coming through the tunnel in the aeroflow lane,
oh yeah,
that's a pretty mean-looking thing. So a nice big old fat radial on the back there.
It's got a decent tyre in the back of it too.
Now, speaking about that, I'm wondering if that is the Supra that I happened to see that was on the back of a trailer at Wahroonga about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And I know it's been sitting up in a workshop up in Hornsby, as my sources have told me. So I don't know if that is the car. I'm going to go talk to the driver.
Not sure, mate. We did see a little bit of smoke coming off the Supra there. So track walkers are just checking out just to make sure it wasn't dropping any fluid. But it did have a big old tyre on the back and a low ride height in the rear. So there's a good chance it could have been a little bit of the edge of the tyre rubbing on the guard or something like that.
He was our first car over 200 that I've seen.
Yep.
So
204.
204 through the speed trap. So
definitely packing a little bit of 2J goodness under the bonnet there.
Well, I've been told if that is the car that I think it is, from what I got told by one of my friends, it is cranky at idle. So that would explain some of the high miles an hour as we got the Subi about to come out against the XR6 Turbo.
Subi's holding his own at the finish line. I think he's going to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a great run from Subi.
Falcon was coming at him, but ran out of real estate.
All right, Pat, the king of chop, Michael Koval coming out now in the Go Fast Pits i30N. He's about to take on the Evo, and I say the king of chop because, number one, well, Anthony Matuk's not here with any of his Skylines, and I haven't seen the Lamborghini turn up. So...
Well, I think, not that we want to mention it, but there's an R word that we never mentioned here at the track. But I do know that some of the competitors would have been coming from around the Windsor, Riverstone area. And I believe there was a bit of that R word happening up that way. So, you know, everyone's got to make their decision. But so far, the weather here at Sydney Dragway is perfect for, you know, your big horsepower, your turbo car, your supercharged car, even in naturally aspirated. It's nice and cool out there. Plenty of cool, fresh air getting on board, and yep, no shortage of performance here.
Yeah, certainly more September weather than we're used to, not what we've had last week. But
no, I think there's
so far this week.
There's a few people that were racing last night that would have preferred to have had tonight's weather rather than that humid, muggy sort of thing that we had last night.
Good side-by-side race here. I think the Rocket Lane got around, took the win.
That MPS6 is definitely an impressive little package.
He was behind most of the run there.
Yeah.
Just coming on right at the last probably 50 metres or thereabouts.
It looks like we've got a Honda about to come out in the Rocket Lane, about to take on the Alfa Romeo.
Little Alfa Mito. They've been getting a little bit of a following there as well, some turbo upgrades and whatnot. I think there's for the ARI Performance down near Preston's somewhere that's specialising a bit of that. You know, anytime you see a Civic with an intercooler in the front of it, you should probably just be a little bit wary, because it might be like that one run 150 today.
Yes.
Here's the JDM equivalent of Holden versus Ford. We've got the Nissan R34 GTR lined up next to the Toyota Mark IV Supra JZA80 with the 2J on board. RB versus 2J. Which one are you, Steve?
I'm going to say 2J.
Oof. 2J, otherwise known as God's Motor. I'm sure there's plenty of RB guys out there that are going to be upset at me for that, but...
That's all right. We could deal with that, Matt.
Yeah.
That's all right. We can deal with that, can't we?
Yeah, that's right. We've just got to stir the pot a little bit, mate. So.
That's all right. The silver tape Supra, taking the scalp there.
Definitely 2J for the win in this case.
All right, we've got Lag coming back out in the rocket lane up against What's Up in the aeroflow lane. Pair of barrel-powered Falcons.
And these two have raced each other a couple of times already tonight. The aeroflow lane out in front, and I think it's going to stay that way. Lag's chasing him down, but not going to get there.
I think Lag may have maybe tagged the limiter a little bit there. I saw a couple of pops from the exhaust out of the back of the car, so definitely was working hard on chasing the red FG in the aeroflow lane.
All right, the barrel-powered XE, Steve, sitting just below you in the aeroflow lane. He's going to be taking on another Falcon.
Seemed pretty popular, the Falcon 6 here tonight.
It seems to be, it's funny actually, when in a previous life I did work for a Ford dealership, and when the F6 came out in the FG model, one of the claims to fame from FPV and Ford was actually the 80 to 120 time. So the Barra was always known as having this, just massive amount of torque in the mid-range. 4 litre with a turbo on the side, you can't go wrong. And when the F6 came out, it actually had a faster 80 to 120 time than the current 911 turbo from Porsche. So acceleration from a roll has always been sort of a key for the Barra, or the Falcons with a turbo Barra. So yeah, it's no real surprise to me that that they're popular for this kind of thing. And later model Falcons are a heavy car, so getting them off the line is always a bit difficult. And not just later model Falcons, but Commodores and really anything that's been built in the last sort of 15 to 20 years compared to something that was 80s or previous is a heavyweight in comparison. Lots of safety gear, lots of technology, lots of luxury things that are on there. And we see Eden from Area 51 in his Caprice. He was here last night. That car's a heavy car to get off the line. 2.264 is what he was running last night. But out here, when he's on the roll and the weight's already moving, he's got that inertia.
Yeah, it's all eliminated, isn't it?
That's right.
Or minimised, I should say.
Absolutely minimises it. So you can get the car into that happy rev range. You can get the weight already moving. So, he's coming out and he's running, quite well so far. So yeah, no surprise, Stu, that there's plenty of Barras down there.
Absolutely not. I just heard from that LRS Racing Ute. Got out to near 330, and you hear him almost about to change gear and just spinning the tyres slightly. So, it's not as easy as it looks out here on this surface. There's a few little tricks to getting the car quickly down on the roll race. All right, the Nissan Proto, the 400Z, coming out now up against the Mustang. Now we know in drag racing these 400Zs don't really like to do a burnout, but having said that, with the radials on the rear end of it, it seems to be liking the roll racing. He's keeping up with the Mustang as well. He's got the win.
There mustn't have been much in that across the finish line.
No, that would have been a close one.
Got that tough Supra back out in the rocket lane. He's about to take on the BMW.
All right, yeah, definitely keen to see more of this Supra. Its first hit out was 204 kilometres an hour across the stripe.
Correct.
Down there, so let's see what it can bring this time around.
Not quite as fast this time around, but it went way past the finish line.
A long way past the finish line there. So I think we were talking about muscle memory as far as we're calling out kilometres per hour rather than mile per hour this time. I've got a feeling that gentleman may have a bit of muscle memory where the quarter mile finishes rather than the 8th mile. So yeah, please keep in mind for all those watching and considering coming out for a run, or perhaps you're in the staging lanes, the roll drags this evening does end at the 8th mile marker. So you can see the Sydney Dragway flags down at the half-track mark. That is where the race finishes. So if you just roll off, allow your car to settle, and then coast on through the braking area, everyone's going to be nice and safe. We're not going to have to worry about, actually, it's just yourself getting used to perhaps the extra mile per hour that you might be running if you stay into the throttle the whole way down the quarter. You might get there and compared to, say, if you've drag raced before
Yes.
from a standing start, you might have, let's say you just ran 140 mile per hour from a standing start.
Yes.
With this rolling start being into it for the entire quarter mile, you might end up
Yes.
150 plus, 160.
Yeah, and you made the point last night that how much quicker that turn comes up.
Oh, yeah.
Even carrying that extra 20 k's an hour through the finish line.
Definitely.
Yeah, and we saw one car almost go into the beach last night.
Yep.
But didn't get there.
Yep. Gathered it up nicely. So I think the Supra, is still maybe just a bit of haze or something coming off the car as it's going down the track there. So it doesn't look like the guys are finding anything on track. So it could just be a bit of tyre rub or something along those lines. There's that DC5 Integra running off again. Great mile per hour again, but just pipped at the post by the Falcon in the rocket lane there. 169 versus a 162 kilometres an hour.
Oh, yeah. We've got a pair of VLs down here, boys.
I can see it. I'm a big fan. I can see some Calais front ends there.
Yes, the one that's in the rocket lane, Pat, I have seen over the road. A very, very nice car as it goes past me at probably 200 k's an hour, but got a decent set of tyres under it as well.
Got a feeling that is Justin from PSI Fab in that car. Definitely got a nice little twin turbo LS package under that thing. So, yeah, great to see that he made his way down here. He was actually the person that messaged me wondering whether or not we were going to see the R word. So I said, no, we'll be right, mate. Head on down. So roll drags is a go.
So nearly nudging the 200 k's an hour there in the rocket lane, Pat. 197 that time around.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe Justin actually has a couple of boosted turbochargers by Aeroflow Performance on that car. So good to see.
Nice. Good product use of your product, mate.
Oh, I would never do that. I would never mention that.
Oh, okay. You don't want me to? No worries.
No, of course. Of course.
All right, guys. Sammy Joe coming out now in the rocket lane, about to take on the Area 51 Ute. This should be a good race between these two. They've raced each other on the Wednesday night before at Aeroflow Race for Real. And now they're here tonight for the roll drags.
I think pretty similar mods between these two cars, right, Stu? Maybe a couple of cammed up LSs.
Oh, Sammy Joe got the win, 150 miles an hour. All right, the big Chevelle, they've obviously repaired what they needed to. He's about to come out against the Holden. Could hear a little purge of nitrous then too.
Yeah, it's in the Commodore. I can see that.
That'll be Eden from Area 51. Bit of nitrous on board, Stu. He's going to do the chasing.
He's not going to catch that Chevelle.
No, whatever it was that they had to fix last time, they've definitely done that.
Although similar in the ETs, I think Eden just got left behind on the hit there.
Yep.
I'll tell you what, boys, from down here, the V8s are starting to step it up a little bit. I think they've seen that the imports have kind of done the early battle, and now they've gone, you know what, it's time to get serious. Let's go. And that VL down there, it's got a CMV performance sticker on the rear window, so you know it's going to be quick.
Yep, definitely 183 kilometres an hour across the finish line there, Stu. So there's a bit of timing just to work on out of the hole, but I'm sure that will come out and be a contender.
It carried some 20 k's an hour difference across the finish line there.
Oh yeah.
I think. Sorry, Stu. This Jeep in the rocket lane, I think we may have seen that before, and it's got a bit of a surprise hiding under the back bumper, if it's the one I'm thinking of.
Well, that's from Precision Racing, that big SUV. Well, it's had work done by them, 173 miles an hour. I'll tell you what, boys, we've got a pretty good crowd in the house tonight for our first event of the roll drags. If you're up in the crowd, guys, how many V8 fans have we got up in the crowd tonight? Put your hands up. None. Ooh. What about the imports? Who's here for the imports? Yes. I'll tell you what, the crowd are behind the imports. Oh, man.
Bit of Euro flavour down there, Stu. I think you may have just noticed.
Oh, a Ferrari.
That is a 488, if I'm not mistaken, which is a twin turbo V8. So it's going to be it's going to be interesting to see a little bit of Italian horsepower up against the JDM Hero, which is the 35 GTR. So great to see some more cars rolling into Sydney Dragway for the very first roll drag event.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you're a GTR fan, get up and make some noise. Oh, I thought he had that. I thought he was going to beat the Ferrari.
I just pointed across thinking the GTR had it too, and then the win line popped up for the other car, thinking they got it all of us by surprise. And we've all seen our fair share of track racing over the years.
Absolutely.
Or side-by-side racing. And from up here, I think we all thought the Skyline had that one.
Yeah, great to see the Ferrari out here. So we definitely want to see some more of that. That was very nice. Little GR Yaris.
Well, the GR Yaris, boys, taking on the Volkswagen.
Yeah, that Volkswagen Golf's definitely got a few mods. I think it's definitely going to be a stage 1 or a stage 3 or a stage 4 or a stage 86. The golf guys like to talk in stages in their mods, so it's definitely got one of them on board. That's for sure.
All right, guys, the Honda about to take on the Corolla.
All kinds of wheel spin happening from the front end, from the back end.
It's hard to tell which car is coming out of, because we can obviously hear it pretty well on the track mics, but it's sort of blur into one. So this is a little Corolla, you said, in the airflow lane there.
Yep, that is fat with a PH, according to the number plate.
Yeah, it's got some pretty fat rims on it too, Pat, just quietly. But he's up against this very quick Subaru.
I don't think the Subi's got anything for it.
And that fat ass.
Yeah, nice. 159 kilometres an hour through the finish line for the little Corolla.
Awesome, awesome. And as you mentioned, Stu, we've got a great crowd out there, so I think definitely the anticipation of the roll drag event at Sydney Dragway has crept up, and it's caught people's interest. There's quite a few people down here in the viewing area as well, which we've made available. But great to see a turnout here. I'm sure everyone up in the stands is enjoying the action. That is just non-stop so far tonight. It's been great.
Well, Steve, I'm trying to rack my brain and think, how long has it been since we've called a Ferrari here at Sydney Dragway, let alone in street racing?
I think that's the first time for me, actually. I don't think I've called a Ferrari here at Sydney Dragway before. Done the Lambo a couple of times and RAV4s and all sorts of different things, but I don't believe I've ever called a Ferrari. So, first time for me too, Stu.
Well, I'll tell you what, the R34 Mad GTR is about to take on this very quick XR6U. Is the import going to do it, or is the Barra got the legs? Oh, no. The GTR. Chop, chop. Thank you. Imports again.
You should get those number plates, Stu.
Chop, chop. Nah, that's Michael Koval. No, Michael Koval should get chop, chop number plates, not me.
Yeah, but you're a chef, so it's sort of it's double meaning, you know.
It works 2 times, yeah.
Oh, mate. Yeah, true. Maybe I could get the knives out. No, actually, no one did that. That's probably not a good idea.
You might get arrested doing that. That's probably not a good idea.
It's all fun and games here, Stu. Let's not take it to that level, mate. You know?
Evo up against the Subaru.
That's another JDM Holden versus Ford equivalent, isn't it? WRX versus Evo. Who's going to hold it out? Looks like the Evo to the stripe first. 150 kilometres per hour in the Rocket lane versus 131 in the Aeroflow lane.
All right, it's time to 2J the world, boys. King 2J coming out in the Rocket lane. He's about to take on one of his family members.
Looks like Gas 2JZ.
2J by the look of it.
Side by side, I think the Aeroflow lane just struggling for a little bit of traction on the hit and takes it. The second car tonight, past 200 kilometres per hour through the finish line.
Awesome race, awesome race. There's really something about hearing a Supra roll out, hearing a big turbo spool up just before it unleashes all of that horsepower down the track. So, yeah, really exciting. It's great to see these things happening here at Sydney Dragway.
I reckon what we need to do, we need to get a 2J versus Barra race happen, I reckon.
I'm sure that's going to happen at some point tonight, Stu, judging by how often everyone's going through.
Well, I'll tell you what, once again, if you are watching via our live stream and you are thinking about coming out to Sydney Dragway tonight, I'll tell you what, guys, you want to come out. The racing is hot, the action is fantastic, and the atmosphere out the back is just awesome. It reminds me of an old car shows. We've got the XE about to take on the Falcon FG.
Well, the FG's already passed the XE, moving around at around about 100 metres off the start line there, and the later model FG taking the W at the finish line.
Yeah, I think the guys in the XE may have done a bit of page up action back in staging lanes after the last run, trying to see how much they can actually put down on this great surface that we've got from Sydney Dragway here. And I think the track has been developing across the night. You know, I mean, it feels like we've been racing for so long because there's so many cars getting through and the action's non-stop. But it is only 7 o'clock, so we've only been racing for just around an hour.
Ooh, big step out for the Capri.
Capri. I think everyone's starting to lean on things a little bit down here. But the more cars that go down the track tonight, put a bit more rubber down. It's going to bring the track around. Obviously, it's a bit cooler tonight, so that's something to keep in mind when it comes to traction. But you know, these are all the things that we've got to contend with and get used to in this new format of roll drags.
Well, one thing we touched on last night at Aeroflow Race for Real, we were talking about with these radials that some of the cars are running. And look, in the drag racing situation, obviously, you want to try and get a bit of temperature in the tyre, but you don't want to get too much. In this style of racing, it's very interesting to see the difference between a street tyre and an actual radial tyre. Big interest.
Well, I guess the difference is here. I mean, you know, Pat and I have done a bit of racing, you know, without doing a burnout. You know, you're purely relying on the ambient heat left in the tyre from the previous run, and you might have sat in the staging lanes for a little bit between your passes. So,
yeah, definitely. So, you know, the vehicles by nature are going to be relatively grip limited when it comes to not being able to get, you know, the tyre in that optimum sort of temperature range with a burnout.
And funnily enough, that's something that I hadn't thought of until we're just talking about it.
Yep.
You know?
So while the inertia of the vehicle's there to get it moving, so you're not giving that initial hit on the tyre, you're still basically rolling into the power instantly. So the car's going to have to, you know, work with that. The suspension setup's got to consider that. So you're going to look at something that's we might have to look at tyre warmers. I'm not sure. Maybe we'll have to write that as a rule. You know, no tyre warmers allowed.
Because I'm sure someone will try it eventually.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm surprised actually it hasn't happened elsewhere. But
no, that's right. But yeah, I mean, the guys that are going to take this seriously and want to come out here and, you know, perform the best, they're probably going to go back and tweak the suspension setup a little bit, so that's going to allow the car to transition a bit more weight onto the tyre and really push it into the surface. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how everyone just develops this roll drag setup.
Sounds really nice, that Commodore, as it rolls out from underneath us. Left a fair gap on the hit, but I think it's going to come around at the top end, Pat.
Absolutely, 197 kilometres an hour for the rocket lane. Justin down there doing a great job chasing down that Barra, which the Barra got out a little bit earlier there. So
158 k's an hour through the finish line for the Barra.
Now, Steve, this Integra that is down here, I believe this was the car that was out here the night that Miss R was racing when she had that unfortunate little incident with her Integra. But, you know, hopefully she's here tonight. She's, you know, having a little bit of a play with the car and see if they can get it down the track at a respectable time. Because I'll tell you what, we know it's quick. We know they know their stuff. And let's face it, you know, the Hondas here in Sydney at Sydney Dragway previously been very few and far between. And then Miss R started coming on the scene. here at Sydney Dragway, and it really, for me, it kind of reinvigorated the whole Honda street scene back here at Sydney.
Stu, you're right. You know, Miss R and that silver DC5 was really a trendsetter. You know, definitely one of the early adopters of the K series, and you know, really getting onto the mods and the forced induction years and years ago. Actually, you know, aside from the recently the vehicle came back out, but I remember at least it'd have to be 10 years ago that I remember seeing Miss R going down the strip here at Sydney Dragway.
Well, one man that knows all about drag racing, they've raced at the highest level in Pro Slammer, and also raced in the APSA. Steve Sarkis coming out in the Sigma.
The Commodore battling to stay in a straight line there, moved around a fair bit, but the driver not getting out of the throttle, wasn't going to give that one up to the Mitsubishi. And we just had a comment on the YouTube official, City Dragway official YouTube channel. Where are the Rotaries?
Well,
here we go.
Here they are.
The first of the night that we've seen, little wagon.
Mad 808 out here. So kill a little wagon, burbling away, brapping away down in the tunnel.
He's going to lead out on the Holden Ute.
Contain yourself, Stewie.
Yeah, that's Mad 808, but he's kind of out in no man's land, but still goes 172 miles an hour. The Rotary over the V8, and I love the smell of E85 in the morning.
Love your passion for the Mazda, Stu. It's great to see, mate.
I just love motorsport, and you know what? The good thing about this style of event is that, you know, you see everything, and in a way, depending on how you play the game, most people are in with a fair chance. I've noticed, as I said earlier, some cars are rolling in quite quick. Others are coming in a little bit slower and just playing mind games with their opponent, and I like that. All right, the R35 GTR about to come out now. He's going to be taking on the VL.
All right, it's a great. I don't know if they still call it Bayside Blue in the R35, but it definitely looks like Bayside Blue, made obviously famous by the R34 GTR, previous iteration. But what a great colour under the lights here at Sydney Dragway.
It looks fantastic. I would say, by my eye, it's a little bit darker than the Bayside.
Yeah, you might be right. You might be right.
Good side-by-side race, though, Pat.
Absolutely. So the VL with the speed, but R35 just getting there. That GR6 transmission is an absolute killer. Swapping cogs pretty much faster than almost anything else out here. But another thing that's going to be an interesting race is this 488 Ferrari, again, with this boosted Jeep that we've seen in the past. Definitely a bit of timing concerns there, but the Jeep walking around, trying to get out of the hole and put all that power down.
He was out of the throttle way early there and letting the Ferrari drive on around.
Hey, Pat, you were talking earlier about the track starting to come around, and Steve, I don't know what it looks like from up in the commentary box, but from down here on the start line, you can see a definitive groove happening, and that Ferrari, when he took off, he was just out of the groove, not really in the hot, sticky rubber where majority of the cars are actually launching from. So that might be something that might rear its head later on in the night. I mean, those radial tyres, obviously when they get a bit of heat into them, they probably stick a bit better than the standard street radial.
Yep, we can definitely see that groove. We can definitely see that groove, so it's making itself known.
Oh, the Supra with a big step out at the finish line, nearly there. I did a very good job to hang on to it.
Just as we were talking about the groove, the Supra was getting right out of it. So it's definitely going to be something to keep in mind for the competitors. And you know, if you are spectating but you're considering getting out and giving it a go here at Sydney Dragway at Roll Drags, just take a bit of notice. You can see that. I'm not sure if you can see on the live stream at the moment, but there's sort of a more shiny section of the track, and then we're starting to see this groove that's coming in down the middle of the track. That's a little bit more of a matte sort of look. You're seeing the rubber picked up, whatnot. So just checking out the track down there. The Supra has made a few runs so far and is doesn't seem to be dropping anything significant down the track, but as we are all seeing people trying to lay more and more power in as the night goes on, we want to make sure that safety is the #1 priority. So we don't need anything to slow down progress tonight.
Guys, we've got a very, very light spray of oil down here on the track at the moment. So we'll probably just have to give the track a little bit of a rub, and then we'll be back into racing.
Well, it's something we touched on last night, wasn't it, Stu? Which was, things that you should look out for when you're coming to the track, and that's one thing could be a catch can. You've got your oil breather catch can in modified vehicle, definitely turbocharged cars. Fairly common on E85 and Big Boost to fill up those catch cans, and it's easy to overlook the maintenance on that sort of thing. You're driving around, cruising around on your car, or if it's been in the garage or in the shop for a little while since you last drove it, you might not be thinking, geez, I'm just going to check my catch can, but it's absolutely something you should do.
Yeah, because I think with a lot of these performance cars, like driving them on the road, you're not on boost.
No.
I drive like grandma, but I'll admit that, right? But there's a lot of time that, my car only runs like 13s on the quarter or thereabouts. I'm not driving the thing on boost anyway.
No.
And some of these cars that we're seeing here have the capability of running way quicker than that. Yep. And, if they're on boost anywhere, they're probably more than double the speed limit, which without too much drama.
Well, it's difficult. It's just difficult to do on the street. Obviously we want everyone to abide by the laws and be safe and all that sort of thing. But even if you were to try and use the power that some of these cars have on the street, it's just not achievable. The distance that you need and the grip level that you'd be looking for is just not there on the street. So when you come to the track and you are holding it flat through multiple gears down the strip, you are going to find different aspects that have to be attended to. You might see that you get a bit more blow by. You get a bit more. The engine's breathing a little bit heavier, and it's going to fill that catch can. So, if you haven't kept an eye on it, then it's definitely a good time to check it before you come to the track, or even when you get to the track, while you're getting your paperwork sorted, before you go through scrutineering. Just pop the bonnet, maybe pop the cap off, take your can out. If you've got a can that's got like a little petcock on the bottom of it to a little drain valve to get anything out of it, just double check, because it can sneak up on you.
And certainly a lot of the aftermarket ones have the little level indicator as well to show you, just with the tube how much
sight glass or something like that.
Sight glass that's in it. Yeah, so just a pretty simple, as Pat said, a simple but yet critical part of your maintenance.
Yeah. And don't just think about it for our benefit, for Sydney Dragway's benefit, for the competitors' benefit. Think about it for your own car.
And your wallet.
That's right.
And your wallet,
that's right. The last thing you want is a mishap, right? So you don't want oil vapor or ethanol vapor or fluid, I should say, coming out of your catch can and getting under your tyres. And we don't want to think about those situations, but we have seen it, unfortunately, plenty of times out there. So, and just to go back to the catch can and how they fill up, we're talking about, when you're on boost and, might be pushing some extra oil vapor out. But if your car runs E85 and it's cruising around, maybe not on boost, the moisture that the E85 attracts is actually going to build up, and that's going to get collected in the breather as well. So you might find that it might not be full of oil, that catch can, but it could be full of water.
Yes.
With the condensation that's coming from the E85 and the vapor that's coming from the motor. So definitely something that you want to stay on top of.
And of course, if we run these little more exotic fuels and more horsepower, then your maintenance curve does tend to follow. I don't know of anybody that's doing less maintenance on a 1,000 horsepower car than a box stock one.
There are definitely some people that are doing less maintenance on a 1,000 horsepower car. It doesn't work out well for them. It generally earns their workshop a bit more business.
Yes, we'll put it that way. Yes.
If that's what's happening. So yeah, absolutely. If you're, not everyone is a hands-on, maintenance sort of person, and that's perfectly fine. If you've got the ability to take your car to a workshop, let them look after, be a professional workshop and look after the modifications in a professional nature, rather than someone who doesn't really know but enjoys their car.
Yes.
Then just book it in with them. If you're going to do an event, if you make a lot of horsepower and you're going to take the car out to an event like this, roll drags or race for real or even a track championship, maybe think about booking it in with your workshop. Get it in there. They'll do a bit of a safety check. They're going to go over it, do some maintenance, fresh oil, fresh fluids, and get you squared away before you come out to the track.
I actually did that last Thursday, Pat.
There you go.
Booked in for early October. And
practice what we preach, Bushy.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yep. Well, it's just going to give me a baseline. It's a different tuning shop to, not that I've done a lot with tuners, but
Sure.
just want to get a few things sorted, and you might see me out here doing this, or
Might,
more.
I think definitely is the answer, Mr. Bush.
Yes, correct. And you can all laugh at me.
No.
But that's all right. I'll race Stewie. I might win that one.
That's all right. I'll have to get my golden nugget out here as well and give it a go, I think.
I wouldn't know which way you've gone. You'd be four-way flashing me through the finish line, you would be.
I'll give you the odd hazards over the line, you reckon? I've got a little bit more respect than that, mate. That's a bit of,
Well, you give me the bird too, would
That's
you?
doing that's doing the hazards out there. If it's not a mate, that's doing the dirty, I reckon.
Oh, I'd have a good laugh at it. I'd see the funny side of it.
Well, that's okay.
At least for the first time.
That's all right.
All right, guys, we got that cleared up pretty quickly. Only a few little spots, but obviously, as we've seen, we've got some quick cars. We're back into racing, and we've got the Evo up against the Beamer. This Evo has been on fire all night, and it's got the win again, 168 miles an hour. Great stuff there from the Evo. All right, the GR Yaris is about to come out now, and he's taking on the Volkswagen Golf.
I think these two raced each other last time out. The Yaris taking the lead, but I think the Golf already passed it around half track. It's going to take the win here. 167 kilometres now through the finish line.
All right, the Go Fast Bits i30N is about to come out now, up against the Subaru. Good to see the Subarus well represented tonight here at the Roll Drags, here at Sydney Dragway.
They sure are. The i30 just in front of the Christmas tree. Now stretching the legs in the aeroflow lane. Is going to take the win fairly comfortably at the other end.
And I think that's where the modern cars are. Speaking of doing the dirty and throwing the hazards, I think Koval's just thrown it thrown him at that Subaru.
I was waiting for that to happen.
I just reminded everybody, didn't I?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, but the modern cars, the transmissions that these modern cars have, one of the key factors to how quick they're going to continue to put on consistent speed down the track. So, DSG, DCT, twin clutch, whatever it is that you want to,
and 4,000 gears as well, as you mentioned the other night.
A bunch of extra gears. So, if you've got a car in one lane that's a traditional H-pattern manual gearbox, they're going to be rowing the gears, which, there's no problem with that. But a modern multi-gear transmission is going to snip through those gears real quick. So sometimes they might have not quite as much horsepower, but because they're in gear more often at peak power, peak torque,
managing what they've got more efficiently.
Exactly, they might just get to the line first. So.
Now, it's not very often I say Alfa Romeo. Well, it's not very often either, Steve, that I say Saab. There's a Saab that's about to come out through the tunnel, but I'm in the staging lanes, and just said hello to Michael Elkuri. Michael's here having a look. Of course, famous for Laugh Out Loud 13B.
That's a quick car, that car of Elkuri's.
The 2J powered RX-7 from Gas Racing. Yes, that is an absolute monster. Did he just dip into the 7s recently?
I think he did, yes.
Yeah. That's an impressive package.
The Barra taking on the Corolla.
I think the Barra's definitely got the wick turned up. That car has been strong so far all night, but looks like it's given a bit more of a shuffle further down the track. So maybe a little extra boost on board. But yes, Stu, we can see that Saab coming through. It's definitely a rare sight these days. An interesting brand of vehicle that.
There's two cars I've never commentated here before at Sydney Dragway in one night.
Look at Roll Drags as a success then, isn't it, Bushy? So.
He's going to have his work cut out for him.
I think definitely that that XE is packing a good bit of barrel horsepower under the bonnet. Goes off for 191 kilometres per hour in the airflow lane versus the 129 for the Saab in the rocket lane.
I'll say I think that's the quickest of the old school cars that I recall seeing.
Definitely tonight.
So far tonight.
Yep.
We've seen a couple of Supras just nudging over the 200 k's an hour mark, but that Falcon, XE Falcon, probably the quickest of the old school cars. Not quite sure where you draw the line old school nowadays, but
yeah,
we'll say we'll keep it with the historic retro. If it's legal for historic retro, it's
well, if it's got steel bumpers,
yeah,
maybe. Oh, then again, XDs and whatnot had like a plastic sort of bumper, yeah, but they were definitely still bolted on to the body, so that's.
All right, here's a pair of Supras.
King 2JZ and Gas 2JZ. They've swapped lanes by the looks of things on this run compared to the last one. So let's see how that turns out. Definitely some big turbo 2J action about to take place on the Sydney Dragway strip.
I'll tell you what, boys, we've also got some tough rotor action that's coming out soon as well. We've got a little Mazda sitting out the back of the staging lanes. We've got RX 030 here tonight, of course, that running the Radials, and the 808 wagon as well, which is putting on a good show. So there's something here for everybody tonight, which is fantastic. You know, a little bit of V8, old school V8, the imports, the rotaries. Oh, it's all happening down here. It's like a car show. It's fantastic.
You're right, Stu, something for everyone, and definitely also something for everyone here at the track spectating as well. We've got the food trucks open upstairs tonight. The Pit Stop Cafe down in the pits. Big shout out for Go Nuts for Donuts. Just had a coffee from them recently, and that is keeping me on point. That was quite a run in the airflow lane there.
Yeah, I think certainly given the nudge to that XE, I think that Commodore needs to take on the XE going back under the tunnel now. I think that's the matchup we should be trying to get together.
Absolutely.
XD, is it, Ben? Sorry. I should know. Whoopsie. It's not the first time I'll be wrong tonight.
All right. FG XR6 Turbo versus the S13 Silvia. That Silvia is packing a good punch. We've seen it come out of the hole. Just working on some traction, I think. Figuring out the procedure and the gear to be in, getting out of the hole, but goes off for 174.98 kilometres an hour in the rocket lane.
Well, this Falcon that is about to come out has got a bit of help from it from Empire Racing and Mechanical. Those guys know how to screw a good combination together, but he's taking on Snappy, that beautiful looking WRX. All right, Mad 808 from ProMaz about to take on this Falcon.
All right, so a couple of spicy contenders heading down the strip. The MPS6 getting out well, but Justin in the VL streaking off to 198 kilometres an hour in the rocket lane. Now, we're obviously here commentating tonight, and we're up in the tower, so we're looking down on the track from behind the direction the guys are running down the track. But if you're here at the track, there's a few different places that you can stand. We've got the spectator viewing area down near the start line there. We've also got, obviously, our great big grandstand section. But one area that you may not be thinking about at the moment guys, if you are here at the track, is just past the yellow seating in the grandstand area, we've got that grassed area. Now, that is actually the inside tip where you should be sitting, because that's going to give you the perfect view of not only the action starting, but you can follow the cars all the way down, and you can actually see the finish as they cross where the flags are at the halfway mark. So don't be afraid to head on down a little bit. Just walk a little bit further down, grab a squat on the grass down there, and maybe grab something to eat, grab a drink, and enjoy roll drags here at Sydney Dragway.
Well, I guess the advantage of sitting down there too is you experience the speed of the car going past you, which is certainly a big thing of this. What we're all here for is to hear those engines screaming for all the oxygen that they can consume.
Yep, absolutely, Bushy. And a lot of these races are really close.
Yes.
You know, I mean, it's when you're down here at the start, it's hard to see how close it is. You know, I mean, we've got it wrong a couple of times as well. We've gone, oh, looks like this is going to win, and then the other one goes around it. But if you're a little bit further down in the seating or just down on the grass there, you're going to see what the actual result is firsthand. Another clean run down there. I think the 370Z has been here most of the night, so working on things, and I think it was a 180 that just went down beside it there. But here's an interesting matchup. So 67 Camaro, which is powered by an LSA engine, lining up with the GR Yaris, which has become a hugely popular platform. A little 3-cylinder, 1.6 turbocharged engine with all sorts of potential coming out of it. It's really interesting, Bushy. You might not know the GR Yaris. It's a 1.6 3-cylinder, right? Which we don't really sort of think is a huge engine. No. But the pistons in that thing are actually a 4-inch bore.
Oh wow!
So it's basically 3 cylinders of a V8 that's working, which is why they're making 500 horsepower, 600 horsepower.
They work so well.
That's why they're working.
The bore and stroke combination, obviously.
Absolutely. And that is a new 35 GTR that we haven't seen so far tonight. I've got a feeling that might be out of the precision stable. I think the record for tonight so far, 214.49 kilometres per hour.
Some 10 kilometres an hour. I think the quickest prior to that was 204, I think, the grey Supra.
Yes. Yep. So definitely a bit of horsepower on display down there. Great to see people still rolling in for this very first event, roll drags at Sydney Dragway. So if you're considering it, I think it's pretty safe to say you should come down and give it a go. It's a great value. It's only $60 to enter online, which is a bargain these days, especially in Sydney. Anytime you want to walk out the door, you've got to throw a couple of 50s out of the wallet straight away, I think. That's the feeling that I get.
Before you even think about going out.
Yeah. Just straight out the door. Just throw some cash out. But you can get yourself an entry ticket for $60 only online. You can also buy a ticket at the gate, which is $70. And you can get out here, and I mean, I've lost track of how many runs some of the cars have had so far, Bushy. I mean, we're in excess of 10 runs already.
I think you're probably right. That was the number I was going to say. Some of the early cars we would see have already run 10. Obviously, their frequency is a little bit slower now because there's more and more cars. But the Supra doing battle with the BMW right now, but I think the Supra is going to show the finish line.
Definitely.
And he's going to run on through for 195 kilometres an hour through the finish line there.
Beautiful. Yeah, and we touched on it earlier that Wednesday night, a race for real from Aeroflow Performance is a great way to get into drag racing, but you may only see 5, 6 runs on a night because we get a great turnout there. There's a little bit more procedure to the way that a static start or a dig race is held, but no such thing with roll drags. The action is non-stop, and here's a couple of killer little rotary masters that are an absolute handful. I know Stu's probably enjoying seeing that go down the strip.
Wow, that little 100, 1300, nice looking car, but quick as well. Had a bit of a shimmy in the rear end there.
Yep.
So got on the loud pedal.
I think the driver's taking their brave pills before strapping into that car and putting the foot down, mate.
Verge of the Nitrous from Eden in the Area 51. Calais out to do battle with the Red Commodore once again. Oh,
whoa!
The Red Commodore loose before the start line.
And that's going to be something to consider for the races that are coming out here. You know, the two-wheel drive vehicles. If you do go and say have a rest for a little while, park your car up, let it cool down in between runs. As we get into the cooler nights, I mean, obviously this time of year we're going to start getting to warmer nights, so it won't be much of a concern. But tonight there is a little bit of wind chill factor. There's a bit of a cool breeze out there, so tyres are going to get a little cooler. So something to keep in mind as you run into the night here at Sydney Dragway.
Little Alpha taking the scalp there. I think that's what it was based on the tail.
Yeah, yep, that was the
disappeared away from me.
That was the Alpha Mito. I never remember if it's a Mito, a Mito. I'm not sure. Either one, Alpha Romeo, has got out. I think he may have shown Koval in the right lane, the hazards there as well. So a bit of choppy jaction back the other direction this way, which is great for a bit of banter. And I think that's what Roll Drags is about. You know, it's a relaxed sort of event. You know, we're still right up on the safety. You know, everything's going as procedure, but you know, it's a little bit more relaxed when it comes to, you know, you're not sitting there at the line. You're in stage. You know, the stress is coming up. You're out there racing against your mates and having a hell of a time.
Well, it takes that instant pressure of the reaction time out, doesn't it? And yes, there still is a form of reaction, but it's not as recorded, I guess you could say. It's not as hard and fast. There's a little bit of flexibility there. So see the Corolla doing battle with the Falcon this time around. They both came out with a fair bit of intensity up to the start line. And I think the Corolla's going to take it, Pat.
Definitely. The FG Falcon with the lag number plates, I think that might have been his undoing there. The Corolla seemed to get on the power a little bit earlier, but that's just going to chalk another one up for the little Corolla. Here we go, some WRX, Subaru WRX versus Mitsubishi Evo. Action down here, battle for the ages. Evo gets the jump across the line there, streaks off to 170 kilometers per hour in the 8th versus a 144 for the aeroflow lane.
We can see a couple of people down there on the grassed area has taken your advice, Pat.
Ah, good to see. Hasn't fallen on deaf ears. Thank you to those people that have taken me up, and I hope I'm proven right. All right, here we go. Nice V8 Commodore and the Mazda MPS 6. VL walking around down the track down there. Absolutely trying to throw all of the horsepower down that the RV motor can muster.
Yes, that was moving around quite a fair bit there. I think we've seen that car in the 190 kilometre an hour speed zone before, dropping some 20 Ks off there, and I would have been dropping it too, I reckon. Yeah. Maybe something else.
Yes,
as well.
Indeed. Yes, indeed.
The eyes would have been well and truly like dinner plates.
Like dinner plates, yeah. All right, here we go. The GR Yaris coming through with the beautiful blue R35 GTR in the rocket lane.
Well, the Skyline's given a bit of a head start, but I think he's going to come around.
Certainly
not
does.
by much.
Not by much, though. Yeah, it was pretty close at the end.
All right, the Falcon taking on the Nissan this time. The Nissan in the aeroflow lane. I don't think we've quite seen the potential of this Nissan as yet tonight, Pat.
No, you're right, Bushy. There is quite a bit of potential. Nice drag pack set of wheels and tyres.
They're quite a tall set of tyres too, I notice.
And manages to tame the beast this time around. 191 kph, I think, may be one of its best runs tonight. Just holding off the red BA in the rocket lane.
Calais taking on the Type R. His Calais pretty quick too.
Absolutely, right up in the 190 range. Battling for a little bit of traction, but still across the line, 193.
Held it nice and straight too.
Yep. I think we can't let that overshadow the relative performance of that little Integra as well. 163 kilometres an hour in the 8th is definitely moving, so it's making a good amount of power.
Mustang versus Commodore there. And the Mustang takes it 148 kilometres an hour through the finish line.
Savage O lined up in the Rocket Lane in the red VE. We've got the Camaro LSA power. This is a feisty little Camaro for sure. So turn the tyres there off the hit, but gathers it back up. Across the line, 161.
Seemed to do that easy, didn't it?
Yeah.
160 k's an hour.
Yep. Only a couple of gears to work through there, so.
Chevelle taking on the VK. Next up, the Chevelle pretty quick from memory, around the 175k mark.
Yep, mid 170s. So there's definitely some power on board with the big American muscle.
Got a nice tyre under the back of it. Using that weight to its advantage, I think, planting it to the ground and just driving just away with it. The VK, I think, struggling for a little bit of traction there in the airflow lane.
Definitely off the hit, the VK struggling for a bit, but you know, valiant effort. Still kept the Chevelle honest the whole way down the strip. All right, is this little? I'm going to get it wrong. I'm going to say it's an R100.
Yep,
Steve, with the BMW in the Rocket Lane. R100's got that rotary sound. And wiggling its way down the track.
Yeah, 162 through the finish line for the little Mazda.
That is, again, not a lot of wheelbase and even less track width to that car. So when it is fighting for traction, there's definitely a keen steerer on board. That one, all right, the Orange Capri coming back through with Mazda RX-3 in the other lane. This blue RX-3 got out with a bit of a wild ride last time, so let's see if they can tame it on the way through. Definitely maybe caught unawares there. Wasn't really into the power until a little bit further in the run. But Capri on through for 168 kph in the Rocket Lane.
Well, guys, I was just out the back, just having a quick look around, and I can tell you that, well, things are starting to get a little bit serious out there. There's a few more laptops that are starting to come out, and I noticed that Paul Mahight is out the back doing a little bit of tuning on one of the white Supras, I guess from the gas racing stable.
Yeah, okay, so maybe Fuel Tech on board with that Supra. I know Paul's got a lot to do with Fuel Tech these days, Stu, so good spotting down there. Definitely a bit of page up action happening. Here's two different aspects of Hot Hatch. So the Honda Civic versus the Volkswagen Golf down there. That Golf definitely got a bit of performance on board. 170 kilometers an hour is nothing to sneeze at. But the Civic keeping it honest, 156 through the traps in the aeroflow lane.
Yeah, two different generations of hot hatch there.
Very different generations. Very different generations. All right, so a bit of Barra on Barra action again here. We've got the XD, which we apologise for the X Series fans. We were calling it an XE earlier on, but no, we're all guilty of it, mate. But the XD with the Barra is leading out with a bit of struggling for traction with the FG late model Barra Turbo following up in the Rocket Lane.
Falcon very consistent though, still that mid 190 km/h speed recorded at the finish line. Haven't seen any escorts out here yet, Pat.
No, what's happening there, Bushy? Call your family. See what's happening. Call your escort family, or better yet, just bring your own.
That's true. We do have an escort fan in the chat. I know we've seen and spoken about him previously at the Aeroflow race for reals, and just need to see one in on the racetrack would make my night. Stewie called for Rotaries, and about 10 minutes later there was two of them.
They heard the call.
Will I have the same power as Stu? I doubt it, but we'll see how we go.
All right, looks like a VZ Ute in Aeroflow lane up against a Ferrari 488 in the Rocket lane, which not often you'll hear that matchup come along. Commodore Ute versus Ferrari. But the Ferrari
hanging back there on the hit,
just playing around a little bit and running off to a 175, really close when it comes to the speed across the line there. 174 for the Aeroflow lane, 175.96 for the Rocket lane. And here we go, a bit more rotary action coming through the tunnel now with Mad 808, the wagon, and King 2J in the Rocket lane. So definitely going to be some horsepower on display here. Both cars fighting for some traction out of the hole, but the Supra coming around for the win, 197 kph in the Rocket lane to 178.9 in the Aeroflow for the 808. I think that sort of speed was probably not what Mazda engineers were considering when the 808 wagon was on the production line.
I can tell you definitely not that's what they were thinking. The drum brakes and the small discs that would have been on the front.
Character building, perhaps, would be the best way to describe that.
Well, what did I don't know whether you know. I'm just asking the general question. What did the standard Mazda make horsepower-wise?
A lot less than that, I dare say.
Oh, that's a given. But yes, I'm just curious. Was it, was it 50 horsepower? Was it 100? That. I guess a range. I should Google it. And come back to you.
I'll do some Googling, so we'll come back on that one.
You're probably quicker on the Google than me. Just checking out the Aeroflow lane. Officials spotting something. Just checking it out, and we shouldn't be down for too long. We've got one of our Mustangs waiting in the tunnel for its next pass.
Right, so if we're talking about the 4-cylinder 808, looks like about 64 horsepower. Steve?
Yeah, okay. Which is probably similar to the Cortina would have had.
Yep.
The Mark 1 Cortina would have been similar to that. Just wondering what the first of like the RX3s or the Rotary.
Yeah, let's have a look with 12A, right?
Yeah.
On the subject of rotaries, boys, out the back, unfortunately, it doesn't look like he's racing, but God RX2 is sitting out the back. Dom Perry, the car's sitting out the back. So
that's
nice to see Dom bring it out.
Yeah, that's a really well sorted RX2 down there, Stu. That thing, pretty sure I've seen run some wild numbers on a 20-inch wheel.
Yes.
As well.
And a beautiful car to match.
Absolutely. Yep, to answer your question there, Steve, the 1.2-litre Wankel engine that appeared in RX3 was at 90 horsepower. So That's the big high performance one when you compare it to the.
So not massively bigger than the 808. The
well,
piston
it's 50% more.
Mm.
Or thereabouts.
Yeah, thereabouts.
You know,
Yeah, I suppose you
65
put it that way,
versus 90. That's a big
that
step,
way.
relatively speaking.
Wasn't thinking of it that way, but it's good to see. Obviously, we see the adding of a turbocharger just seems to have brought that engine to life.
It fixes everything, really.
Yes.
You know? In my opinion. All right. We've got this beautiful blue VL Calais in the aeroflow lane, struggling for traction the whole way down the track there. So definitely.
He spun the wheels from about the 150-foot mark nearly all the way to the finish line.
Yep, leaving a telltale trail down there of wheel spin. So definitely a little bit to work on with the VL. Here comes a nice little R100 through the tunnel. Gas 2JZ in the rocket lane. So let's see if some of the laptop tweaking has benefited the Supra here. Safe to say whatever they were doing has worked. 198 kilometers an hour for the rocket lane. And the R100 just struggling for a little bit of traction there and getting off it early.
All right, the Lancer taking on the Nissan now. Nissan rolls out. The Lancer should be in front, but just me, that doesn't sound like an SR or a CA18. It definitely sounds like there's two more cylinders.
Yeah, there's. I think it's pretty safe to say there's a couple more cylinders under the bonnet of that S13. Maybe Benny's pointing out that it's 2J powered, so a bit of. It might be. So before anyone gets too upset and gets their knickers in a knot, we don't want to talk about JDM sacrilege of putting a Toyota engine in a Nissan, but it may happen. So we might get Stu once that car comes back around to have a quick look at the S13, because it's definitely been an impressive car so far.
Yeah, and the Honda takes the scalp over the Jeep in the aeroflow lane there.
Yep. Another good run down there for Justin in the VL in the rocket lane, crossing 183. A little down on horsepower. I think chasing a little bit of traction there as you get down. That EK Civic in the aeroflow lane has been consistent as ever, around that 156 mark. So nice to see that little car cutting plenty of laps tonight. All right, so the VY Maloo in airflow lane versus the VE sedan in the rocket lane, both from the same garage. These guys all wrapped up with the Area 51 automotive crew. They're a common feature here on a Wednesday night for Aeroflow Race for Real, and they've embraced roll drags wholeheartedly, which is lovely to see. Coming through the tunnel now, we've got the white VK Group A spec and the white 67 Camaro. VK just consistently sort of struggling on the hit for a little bit of traction there, but a great race all the way down to the strip.
There was not much in that one across the finish line. Chevelle moving over to the aeroflow lane this time around, take on the Falcon Ute.
Yeah, the Ute's definitely got a pretty mean stance on it down there. It's got the front runner and the drag pack sort of wheel and tyre package happening there, trying to put some solid barra power down. I think that's a new record for the
Yes.
Chevelle, 181. So a bit of tweaking been happening there.
It was a little bit of a backfire just as it passed the Christmas tree, but certainly got motoring at the other end of the racetrack. 181 k's an hour through the finish line.
Definitely. I think he might have taken the limiter maybe on a shift at the start of the run there. But this next pairing, we've got the red BF F6 Barra powered versus the Sarkis Nitrous LS Sigma.
The Sigma held its own there,
Yep.
I will admit, but the Falcon just taking the win.
It's definitely got the horsepower on board with that top end rush from the turbo engine. Sigma doing its best though. It's probably one of the better runs so far tonight, actually. Clean on the nitrous and with a bit of traction this time through.
BMW hatchback taking on the RX-3.
RX-3 definitely packing the horsepower, but the BMW was on the light, getting out in front and holding for the win.
Yeah, the Mazda seems very delayed on where the boost actually comes in.
Yeah. I think there's definitely some figuring out to happen for the driver there. But that's the great thing about tonight, this first Roll Drags event. It's basically just run as many times as you like, get as many runs in as you can, as much as you've got fuel for your car to keep running laps. We're setting a cracking pace tonight so far, which reflects on that XD Barra-powered Falcon. 190 kilometres an hour is also a cracking pace.
Here's another car that was not designed to do a certain speed.
No, a flying brick. If you just take the if you take the shape of the XD EF Falcons. A couple of little Corollas, little two-door Corollas down here, early ones. I think I want to say that's a K10 in the aeroflow lane and maybe a 20 or a 30 in the other lane, but I'm probably going to be corrected.
I'm going to ask Stewie to go find out what's in those two Corollas too.
Yep. You know what I'd like to see, strangely? I'd like to see an FJ in one of them. A Nissan FJ engine.
Yes.
That was a bit of a, that was sort of a common swap back in the day.
Well, they were a very, very popular engine back when you and I were
young,
in our younger, half our age now.
Yeah.
But there are still a lot of guys that run them in Datsun 1600s and stuff, and they still make awesome horsepower.
Yep.
And I think the car that springs to mind when you talk FJ is Jeff Watson's little Sprite.
Yep.
That was one of the cars. Like, I love 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder turbo stuff, and that was one of the cars that got me into that. Watching that car blaze the tyres at Willowbank across the finish line at 180 mile an hour at an 8.0, and that was not and no disrespect to Jeff, not a high-tech car at all. It was just raw horsepower that got it where it got.
Years before billet engines and whatnot as well. There was none of that. So for the FJ to be able to handle the amount of horsepower it requires to run 180 mile per hour.
But I think that car, for me, was certainly responsible for getting me into that style of car. And I think many people certainly that ventured to Willowbank Raceway and saw it at the odd Melbourne racetrack as well, taking on Victor Bray and that sort of thing in the Chevy, and taking the win as well in one of the races, which was pretty spectacular.
Bit of a turn-up.
Yes, very much so.
Bit of a turn-up. All right, so FG Ute in the aeroflow lane against, I think that's a BMW M3 in the right lane. So nice close race there, 161 to a 162, but the Falcon Ute just getting across the line first.
Hey boys, I'm down in the staging lanes with the SRS Street and Race Solutions S13. It says it's got a nitrous assisted RB30 underneath the bonnet and running the big street radials on the rear end.
There we go, Pat. RB30, the power plant in the Nissan.
RB30, amazing. I should have asked if it was a single cam or at the twin cam stop.
Stewie, can you hear us? Pat wants to know if it's got the twin cam or the single overhead cam motor in it still.
maybe the owner and driver wants to keep that under his hat or under his bonnet, as it were,
Or his helmet.
yeah. All right, so a couple more cars doing some solid laps here. We've got the EK Civic and a Lag, the FG.
Oh, Lag not running. A couple of flashes of flame out from under that car then.
Yep, I think might have been a bit of limiter action happening there.
See, if we put some nitro in Stewie's too,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be from the limiter.
No, I think, yeah.
Be more consistent.
Definitely, I think we need to stay on that. We really need to try and convince Stu to put some nitro in his Mazda 2. That'd be...
Even if it was only a few percent, it's only got to do just to get that crackle.
Just the crackle, yeah, that's all you need.
Slight smell, that's all you want.
Yep, bit of a smell, bit of a crackle, and double the horsepower. Great.
Yeah. and about 1/10 of the mileage.
Yeah. Not important. Not important.
It'll get rid of the carbon out of it. That's how we'll sell it.
Yeah, that's right. It'll be clean as a whistle. All right, so here comes the that beautiful blue VL Calais, which has been trying to put all of the horsepower down. And we've got in the rocket lane the S13 that we were just speaking to, which Stewie informed us has the RB30 on board. So a couple of extra cylinders than what it rolled out of the Nissan factory with, and is taking advantage of those cylinders.
Well, I dare say the Nissan would be lighter than the Commodore in the airflow lane, but that Commodore doing well this time, 171 through the finish line.
That guy with the S13 boys also asked, do we prep the track? Well, I said, well, it's only a street prep. They're struggling to get their car down the track. So, you know, as we always say in racing, you've got to tune to the track. They are trying, but it's tricky out there.
Yeah, definitely, Stu. And, you know, a lot of these cars getting down the track are, you know, I mean, they're all street cars, really. So a lot of the time you'll find that perhaps the suspension setup isn't maybe quite as tunable as you would as you would want to be able to work with the changing conditions. You know, we do have a very cool night out there, which, you know, we might go past a dew point and the track surface gets fairly cool. And we had a bit of sun today, Bushy, but I don't know. There was a lot of cloud around as well, so maybe not quite as much residual heat in the track.
Yeah, it's certainly the clouds and the cooler weather came probably a little bit too soon. We could have really done with a little bit more of direct sunlight in the afternoon.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
It is what it is.
It is what it is, but in saying that, this surface here, without that sun, still way better than your traditional asphalt street-style surface. So I think there's a lot of guys that, you know, everyone's going to want the best for any time that they're on the track, but let's have a look at this Supra. As it goes down, it has been struggling to get all of that horsepower down all night. 207 kilometres per hour in the 8th is, I think, might be the quickest pass of the...
let me see 214.
Wasn't that the... Oh, sorry, for that car.
Oh, that car.
Yeah, I think
sorry.
fastest.
Sorry, I cut
car.
you off there, my bad.
That's all right.
I chopped you.
It's all right, I won't forget. You'll keep.
Wow. Okay. I'll just move over a little bit.
Yeah. No, it's fine. Just keep cutting me off. Bushy, it's fine. It's all right. Another solid run there for the wide Supra, 190 kph versus 140 in the rocket lane.
All right, the Sigma going to be taking the lead this one in the aeroflow lane. Steve Sarkis put down a good 170 odd kilometre an hour run earlier. He's going to need it with that Falcon in beside him.
Well, Steve Sarkis putting up a good fight, but the Falcon has got it.
Must have only just got him, though.
Wow, and that's another PB in speed, I think, for the Sigma, 179. So definitely getting that package dialed in.
I'd say a big hello to everybody who's watching on YouTube and also Facebook Live. Hope you guys are enjoying the action from the roll drags here at Sydney Dragway. I tell you what, Pat, Steve and I, we're having a ball here at the moment. We've got a really good crowd in the house. These kids down the front here, they are little legends. I'll tell you, it is a good night for racing, boys, but I must admit it is a bit cool down here. It is suiting a lot of these turbo cars, particularly the Evos by the look of it. But you know what, the V8s are putting up a good fight. Speaking about it, we've got the Camaro up against the Evo.
It's going to be a good race. Looks like the Camaro just caught out by a little bit of wheel spin and tagging the limiter, which has let the Evo skip away to the win at 152 kilometers per hour versus 169. So the Camaro was definitely coming for him, but the all-wheel drive grip of the Evo just allowing it to get out of the hole.
All right, here a little bit of a purge of nitrous going on.
Definitely Stefan in the Capri down there. It's got a stout little nitrous-powered Windsor, if I'm not mistaken. Great little street car, and that's a good battle for traction between those two cars with the BF F6 lighting up the boards.
The Capri seems very quiet. I think that's what's throwing me a little bit. Like I'm not picking up an engine note from it.
Well, it's a street car,
yes,
Steve. So
yes,
it's
yeah, I know. Well, I'm just making an observation.
Yeah.
Through my ears.
Well, you know, these are all of these vehicles are road registered and totally compliant.
Yes, they are, officer.
Yes, exactly. So, with the blue RX-3 out there, definitely getting a bit more of a handle around the launch and the start procedure on this pass, which is great to see with that silver Subaru WRX in the rocket lane.
Well, the GR Yaris back out. We know these things can run into the 10s over the quarter mile. But in roll drags, it's a whole different kettle of fish. And he's up against Snappy, this beautiful-looking Subaru WRX. I think GR Yaris is in front. But whether the Subaru can drive around him...
Yep. Yeah, he got there in the end, Stu.
All right, guys, we've got Mazda versus Honda. Well, we know which side I'm siding on. That's a given. But Australia's fastest Uber driver, or Sydney's fastest Uber driver, that's Kure in Gold Rush. Mostly carbon fibre work on that car that you can see Kure's actually done himself.
Just sneaks a win in the top end there, Stu. So notch one up for the Mazdas.
Yeah, he's had a few issues with that car. Brought it out, has snapped a couple of drive shafts in that car, had a little bit of turbo problems with it, but he looks like he's got the car rectified and it's back to doing what it does best and putting down some great times down our quarter mile. Definitely
a lot of potential in that platform, Stu. You know that if I'm not mistaken, it's a 2.3 litre four-cylinder turbo in the MPS 6 that was shared with the MPS 3. One of the things that we've noticed, being in the aftermarket performance industry, speak to a few workshops, and one thing that sort of held those cars back has been fuel system. They are a direct injection motor.
Okay.
So what we often see is the direct injection injectors are a very big dollar item, but they're limited in how much fuel delivery they have. Very efficient in making power up to a certain point, but after that, then you've really got to make this big jump to adding port injection. So maybe a different intake manifold or some other way of getting more fuel into the motor.
And I'm guessing that's would be a custom manifold, and obviously you start doing that.
Yep, it's either going to be a custom manifold or something that's not a low dollar item.
Yes.
To go there, you're obviously restricted with the factory turbo manifold. What you can do there. So then you've got to go aftermarket turbo manifold, put a high mount on it.
Yep.
Something different here and there. But there's definitely a few out there that are starting to really embrace it and get around those challenges, as we can see by the Mazda 6 that's out here having a cracking time.
That was a close race there, Pat. The Chevelle just taking that over the little Corolla.
That was. They're throwing all of the fuel at the Chevelle tonight, as we can see with the black smoke on the gear changes.
Well, the beauty is if he filled his tank, he's probably got 80 litres or thereabouts to burn.
That's right.
It's going to naturally get quicker.
Might be just popping the cap open or checking the gauge on the return road, I think, just to keep it in. All right, this is going to be there's another one. This black 35 GTR in the rocket lane, Stu, down there. I'm not sure if you can see where that's come from, but If I'm looking on my monitor from up here, I can see a carbon fibre tillet seat. So we know anytime you've got a 35 GTR that's sporting a pair of carbon fibre seats, it's probably pretty serious.
Well, I can see it. I was standing right next to it, and it sounds tough.
Yeah, wow.
214 kilometres an hour, backing up its previous run at that almost identical speed. The big 35, attempting to rotate the Earth on the hit.
You just see it building.
Yep.
Building speed as it gets to the finish line. I'd like to see what it would have been running through the finish line if we had our timers up there. But
yeah. If we were out on the quarter mile here, that would be quite interesting.
Next car up, the grey Supra, which I think is one of the certainly one of the top three here tonight, taking on the little R100.
204 again, another consistent run above 200 kilometres an hour for that one, but there's just that little bit of smoke that's coming out of that car on the way down the track. So we really just want to make sure that that's not getting any worse or causing any dramas for the rest of the competitors out there. So please, just as a reminder, guys, if you are coming out to roll drags, just run your eyes over a few things on your car. Make sure that your catch can's empty. Make sure that your oil level's correct. Your turbo drain is right. You haven't got any great leaks. Coolant system is in check because, as you've seen, we are running at a great pace here. So plenty of people getting runs down the strip, and these little things. So if we spot a car running down the strip with some smoke coming out of it or some sort of fluid being left around there, we've got to hold people up, and that's not what we want. We want everyone running, having fun, roll dragging. That's the name of the game tonight here at Sydney Dragway. I think while the guys just double check the track, we might throw it out to some of the track sponsors who are helping keep the gates open and allowing us to enjoy some great action here. We'll be right back.
Aeroflow, famous for our massive range of hose, fittings and performance products. Air filters, oil filters, fittings, engine and transmission parts, fuel systems, tanks, silicone hose, exhaust, air conditioning, turbo and nitrous accessories and more. Get your free catalogue and shop online now at aeroflowperformance.com.
Bang shift shifters from Aeroflow Performance are truly the modern shifter for the modern age. Featuring a full bespoke billet case, all shifters are designed for right-hand drive vehicles with an LED lit gear position indicator. Available in either ratchet or gated options, as well as OEM replacement shifters for popular Holden and Ford vehicles. A large range of Bang shift spares are available for each shifter that includes shifter cables, brackets, lever and gate kits, trans brake buttons and drop boxes for the ideal mounting solution. Shift into gear and check out a full listing at aeroflowperformance.com.
How would it be if we funded a pilot program for you to run that enabled you to bring some vision impaired kids onto the Saints Play program?
Oh wow, that would mean the world. My reward is the smile on the kids' faces.
And since you've given so much to others, we'd also like to do something for you personally. How would it feel if Pepper sent you, your partner, and your daughter Molly to the Gold Coast for a few days?
Yeah, awesome. I don't know what to say. It amazes me. Thank you very much.
Stay informed, up to date and entertained thanks to the Western Weekender. The Western Weekender is Penrith's leading free and local newspaper, delivering the best content from on-the-ground journalists and providing businesses with direct access to potential customers. News, sport, entertainment, puzzles and so much more. The Western Weekender is the heartbeat of Penrith and it's out every Thursday. Get your free copy at selected locations in the area, home delivered, or check out westernweekender.com.au.
boosted turbochargers from Aeroflow Performance are designed for the automotive enthusiast who wants optimal performance at a competitive price. We have a range of turbochargers in both ceramic ball bearing and 360-degree journal bearing options to suit your power goals from 200 up to 3,000 horsepower. To help turbocharge your vehicle, Aeroflow Performance also have a large range of turbocharger accessories. From steam pipe turbo manifolds, external wastegates, and intake and exhaust solutions, you can have your car boosted in no time. For a full listing, check out aeroflowperformance.com.
Thank you very much, Pat. I hope everyone is enjoying the evening's racing so far at the first roll drags here at Sydney Dragway. And I know the action has been pretty full on. We haven't had too much of a break up here tonight, and just taking that opportunity, of course, our hardworking officials just spotting a little bit of something in the rocket lane, taking the opportunity to clean that up quick, smart, and our next pair of cars about to roll towards the start line. We've got this very quick VL Calais taking on the Holden Ute. I suspect the Calais will come around at the top end, and it does so. 185 kilometres an hour through the finish line.
Yeah, that VL was turning that left rear tyre the whole way down the track there, and it certainly started to get the wiggle on, just getting out of the groove. All right, we've got the second, well, the custom performance customer cars. We've got the Caprice coming out with Nitrous. He's taking on this very quick Falcon Ute.
Yeah, that Ute is going to take this one, Stu. Nice pass there. I think the Calais was fighting for a little bit of traction in the rocket lane that time around.
Yep, definitely throwing all of the nitrous at the Caprice, I think, isn't it?
Yes.
Yep. So Eden, regular out here on Wednesday night, but it's definitely got the bottle wide open on the Caprice here for roll drags, and he's having a great crack out there.
Subaru is making their way down the racetrack, and the rocket lane will take it.
So all right, the Jeep coming out now up against Michael Koval in the Go Fast Pits Hyundai i30N. Great night of racing tonight, and lots of cars out the back. Hopefully, if we do this again, we'll get an even bigger turnout, because I'll tell you what, 8 Mile racing, it's not as easy as people think, is it, Pat?
No, you're right, Stu. You know, I think there's a bit of perception there. It's like, oh, it's not, you know, it's a bit short, or you know, something along those lines. But it's really not, as we see Koval hand out the chop via the hazard lights again in the GFB Hyundai i30. But Stu, as you were saying, you know, 8th Mile, yeah, it is a little bit shorter. That doesn't make it any worse. That actually makes it harder. So you've got to be on point. You've got to be ready to go when that light goes green. And, you know, there's no sort of, oh, we'll just wait until the big end and drive around necessarily.
Just let the horsepower do the talking. You might not get to the point where the horsepower really comes into it.
That's right. You might come up a day late and $1 short when it comes to that sort of time frame. But I think so far tonight we've seen some great races, which you know, it's all really been based off the hit, but you know, in some cases we're seeing a bit of horsepower take over further down the track. I think overall, Stu, you mentioned if we're going to do roll drags again, I think it's pretty safe to say that we will be doing roll drags again here at Sydney Dragway. Sydney street scene has turned out. We've got plenty of cars consistently going down the track here. I think everyone's pretty keen to have more of this happening, and I'm sure there's a few little tweaks that we'll be looking at. The crew, the management, the track staff, everyone's doing their best to make sure that this event turns out. I think we've got a couple of great food options upstairs tonight. We've got the Gozlemi, we've got Go Nuts for Donuts, I think a couple of others up there. So something for everyone here to stay hungry, watch some action, or I should say stay fed rather than hungry. Watch a bit of racing action down here. It's a little bit different to the norm at Sydney Dragway. That red BF F6 is a bit of a handful, isn't it? Just lap after lap, fighting for traction down the strip.
Exactly right, but the driver keeping it on the straight and narrow, and the next car up also has been struggling a little bit for traction in the rocket lane this time around.
What I'm finding interesting actually from down here on the deck, boys, in particular, I mean, you look at some of the race teams that have been competing in drag racing for a fair while, particularly the guys that have been running in radial racing, for example. So like Gas Motorsport, they've got a couple of cars here tonight. They've got the R100 and, of course, Gas 2J. Interesting how what the implementation between the drag racing side of it on a radial over the 8th mile compared to a roll racing over the 8th mile, because there's a lot of data they've already got on board those cars. How much of it will we factor into getting these cars down this particular drag strip?
Well, it's definitely going to throw a few curveballs, I think, Stu. You're right. There's a lot of data, and I think one thing that we haven't really spoken about when it comes to the way that it's all set up is gearing. So a lot of these cars that are out here are turbocharged cars, right? So, and we know that turbos need a bit of load, and sometimes actually the longer gearing is actually better to get the load on the turbo, get the boost to come on a little bit earlier, and give you a wider torque band with the launch. So as opposed to maybe coming out from a dig from the static start in traditional drag racing, you want that shorter ratio to be able to drive the car out of the hole a little quicker off the line. So yeah, I think there's definitely there's going to be a bit of data work. People are going to be analysing some of the data after tonight, Stu, and I think that's a great point that you bring up.
Well, the other point I wanted to bring up too, which you both have touched on, you're talking about the track starting to come around. Now, where I'm actually standing directly here in the start line area, either side of me are big, sticky rubber marks from where everybody is pretty much hitting it. So a lot of those drivers that are driving using the radial tyres, if they're sitting right in the centre of the groove, they're going to have as much maximum traction as possible with those tyres that don't have a huge amount of heat through them. So it's going to benefit them a little bit now that the track has particularly rubbered up, particularly in the launch area.
Yeah, spot on, Stu. The groove is definitely loud and proud for our vantage point, that's for sure. So just a bit of a tip for competitors out there: just pay attention to where that groove is, and just keep in mind as to where your vehicle position is on the track, which is going to give you a better result to get the power down to the track. And as we see coming through in the aeroflow lane, we've got that Ferrari 488 down there. Beautiful looking car, and great to see someone bring their pride and joy out here with a bit of Euro flavour. There's a BMW in the other lane, so a bit of Euro action here at Roll Drags tonight.
It'll probably be a pretty good battle, I'd imagine, but looks like the Ferrari has the measure at the moment, Pat.
Absolutely. Very consistent, high 160s, low 170s all night so far for the Ferrari. Right, so here we can see coming up next is S13 RB30 powered S13 Silvia in the airflow lane, and the nitrous assisted LS in the Caprice in the rocket lane.
Thought we might have seen a few more supercharged cars here tonight, but maybe next time.
Yeah, I think definitely there's going to be quite a few people that are tuning into the live stream or maybe watching from the stands that are going to see the great action, the amount of runs that you're able to get here at Roll Drags at Sydney Dragway, and they're going to go, damn, I should have gone. Should have bought that ticket online for the bargain price of $60.
That's correct.
To get out here and have some fun at Sydney Dragway, but the great thing is I'm sure we'll be able to do it again in a very short amount of time.
All right, with the big Jeep SRT doing its thing, I was expecting to see a couple more of our Jeep fraternity out here this evening. We do have a couple of very quick Jeep SRTs that make their way out here to Sydney Dragway.
Yes, the black one that was running before. Haven't seen it back, but I'm wondering if something has gone awry there because it did slow quite substantially on its pass the last time I saw it out.
Yeah, I think I did mention that earlier tonight, but I'm pretty sure that's a rear mount turbo setup in that car. So good to see it back out, competing or with the owner enjoying the car. But yeah, hopefully they can get it all squared away and make a couple more passes.
All right, the I-30 taking on the Lancer this time around. Both cars done plenty of runs here tonight. The I-30 out in front, taking the lead. I tell you what, I don't think the Lancer's going to catch him, Pat.
Ooh, just got it.
Just mustn't have been much in that one.
Give him the hazards, mate. I don't know if the bloke in the Evo can hear us. Probably not.
Oh, look what's coming up next, Stu. Rotor on rotor.
Yep, I deliberately put myself in the middle of it too. The R100 up against the RX3.
The little R100's got this tiny little shake of the tail as it gets on the horsepower.
Yeah, definitely that poor little chassis was not expecting that sort of power. Ooh, what's happening here? But the driver keeping it under control, running off for a nice clean pass. We've got the Corolla pair back out again.
Stewie, Pat and I want you to find out what's in the Corollas.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely some engine swap action happening there. So we'd, just for curiosity's sake, we'd like to know what it is.
I know the 4AG ZE was not a bad engine.
ZE was a supercharged version,
yes,
There's a TE as well.
And the turbo version, of course, they were only 1600, which probably their, I'll say, downfall in inverted commas was their restriction in the amount of horsepower they made, that they were only fairly small. But there were plenty of people very popular because they were only a physically small engine, not the same size motor as the FJ or similar of the day. But they packed a pretty good punch for what they were. And of course, one of the first engines that I'm aware of that did the 20 valve head as well.
Correct, yeah, 5 valves per cylinder. So the 20 valve was about all of the RPM. It's kind of Toyota's version of the VTEC, sort of different concept, but the ability to rev was its claim to fame. So 4AGE family, definitely a popular one out there. And then the other Toyota engine that was a little bit later was the 3S GTE. That was another popular engine swap, most commonly found in MR2.
Yes. Would you believe, Pat, when I was starting to muck around with the engine in the Cortina, I said to my dad, I wonder if there's another head that fits on a Kent 1600.
Yeah.
Do you know the 3S GTE, when you put the two together, combustion chambers were nearly identical.
Yeah, right.
All the head bolts were half a hole out.
Half a hole out, wow. So it's kind of like, what's that meme? Hey, can I copy your homework? Yeah, okay, but don't make it exactly the same. Just change a couple of things.
I was blown away the fact that it was, obviously there was other stuff too, but blown away by the fact that there was a completely different engine, there's a new record, Pat, I see out of that.
221 kilometres an hour on that pass, folks. Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay.
That great bit of knowledge there, but I'm actually slightly speechless. I think was that King 2J that just ran that?
No, it was the black Skyline with the carbon seats in it.
Yep, it was the R35. Okay, so the guys have turned the wick up on that one a little bit. So it's going to be a hard one to get hold of out there as Gas 2JZ struggles for traction on its way down the track to 196 kilometres an hour.
Still a good showing. Had a couple of pedals in there. Just shy of the 200k mark.
So going back to that story of your
it was
your
just
Kent engine.
it was amazing that there's two engines so far apart from different manufacturers were effectively so close.
Yeah.
It's almost tempting to start wanting to muck around with it, but yeah, it's one of those things. I guess it would have been easier just to put the Toyota motor in it.
Yeah, I think that's, yeah, you're probably right at the end of the day, mate, but interesting nonetheless. It's funny, actually, there's quite a few, maybe not so much between different makes, different brands of vehicle, but Honda, for example, are famous for the amount of interchangeability there is, in making later model stuff. Putting a K series into an earlier model Civic or an Integra or something like that. It's like, okay, use this subframe, chop that mount off, weld this one on here, and pretty much you're done.
Yes,
so there's a little bit more involved than that. But
keeping in-house or make conversions very simple.
Yeah, and we're starting to see a few all-wheel drive conversions now.
Yes.
With K series all-wheel drive in the EK, EG, DC 2 and 5 models from Honda, and they're all using basically factory parts, using CRV driveline. I think they might do a custom prop shaft, custom tail shaft, but the rear diff from a CRV.
But in reality, those few components that you do need to get custom made are pretty straightforward,
pretty straightforward, and you're going to do that in almost anything where you're changing a significant component. Like, I had to get a custom tail shaft in my Commodore. It's still rear-wheel drive, but it's got a different gearbox in it.
Yes.
So that's not a wild modification or a wild custom.
Not to the point that you were saying before, like we have to turn around and get a whole inlet manifold made and a whole exhaust manifold, and full custom front end to be able to do the conversion and chopping firewalls out and all that sort of stuff. But typically some of the mechanical conversions, such as drive shafts and bits and pieces like that, pretty straightforward.
Absolutely.
Hey guys, that Corolla you were talking about, the blue one, it's got an SR20 underneath the bottom.
SR20. Sweet. So it wasn't Nissan. It wasn't Nissan swap, just the wrong one.
We were close. We were a generation out, but Pat tipped it was a FJ. But the old SR, the newer brother, if you like. Of course, we see the SRs making reasonably good horsepower for what they are. Of course, there's one in a Dado wagon floating around up in Queensland making 1,000 at the tyres.
Yeah, that's right. Silky's wagon is a very impressive thing. Some ridiculous amount of RPM on board as well. I think it's towards 10,000.
I've seen 10.5 them talking on Facebook footage.
I think, wasn't he the horsepower hero at Summer Nats?
I think so.
Just gone, so that's another bit of a turn up there.
Yes, it was turned up.
Yeah. So he did there, Bushy.
Comedian I am not. Yes, but of course 10.5, a no man's land for a non-VVT head.
Yeah. Yeah. I think. Oh, is it a non-VE head?
No, that's a VE head.
Oh, it is a VE. I was going to say, it would have to be a SR20 VE head being used there for big RPM. I don't think the normal SR20 DET rockers don't really like getting anywhere near their factory rev limit, let alone a good 4,000 RPM above it.
With God knows how much boost trying to hold that valve closed.
Absolutely.
I think the i30 is going to take this one. It's been in pretty good form. Only lost one or two, but I tell you what, the little Yaris.
Little Yaris is holding its own.
Oh, he got there.
Get it. Hazard lights. No, okay. Great showing there. I think there's definitely some cars that have come through quite a few times. I wonder if a few people have had to pop off and grab some extra fuel, Bushy.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Or even just to let the car cool down for a little while. It takes a bit of a toll turning the cars around so quick, almost hot lapping the car. With the schedule that we've got, being able to get through the run so quickly, you're going to definitely start to notice some oil temperatures, some transmission temperatures, getting right up there.
Not a bad run there from the little Honda in the rocket lane, but the Falcon takes the win there. Supra on Supra next up. So so far tonight. I think the leaderboard's the Nissan Skyline. And then one of these Supras also... Oh!
Big step out
Yes.
there in the rocket lane.
And 190 kilometres an hour out of the Supra in the airflow lane there, Pat.
Yep, definitely, as you were mentioning, I think the leaderboard so far, we've got the black 35 GTR at 221 kilometres an hour. I think that car also ran 214 twice. I think it might be the grey Supra at 207.
Is third?
Second, I think. Because the 35 went 221. It did two 214s.
Ah, yeah, okay, sorry, I'm
same
thinking
car
that was a
went
different car,
221,
yes,
yep.
okay.
And then 207, I think. I think we've seen a couple of 204s.
Yep, and then there's quite a few cars in the high 190s.
Yep. I think that grey VL, Justin from PSI Fab might have just gone over 200 the last
Yes,
pass.
he did, actually,
Yep.
201, I think. So he's probably sitting third.
Yep.
Third or fourth. All right, the Saab back out again, taking on the Falcon this time around. Good clean pass for the Falcon in the rocket lane.
Absolutely. And yeah, you might look at that race and say, well, that was a bit uneven. But, you know, it's not necessarily competition between each lane. You know, it's for you to come out and have a go and see what your car's got in this roll drag environment. So, yeah, you can come through, you can run through and have as many passes as you like, just to, you know, figure out the way that you're gonna you know, get the car ready, when you're going to jump on the gas, you know, how it is that, you know, if you've got a turbo car, you're going to brake boost it, use some sort of launch control, or which gear you're going to use. Yeah, and you can just come out and have your own fun, which is the great thing.
And of course, Pat, we talked about the entry cost, but also from a safety perspective, there's not a huge amount of requirements in terms of what you need to be wearing as a driver.
Yep.
Basically just an in-date helmet, long sleeve, non-synthetic clothing, long sleeve top, long pants, covered shoes.
Enclosed shoes,
enclosed shoes, and a helmet. That's really pretty much all that you
and
need.
you're basically ready to go. So, you know, easily accessible for everyone in their street car and their regular car to come down and have a go, you know. And, you know, if it's a modified car, as you've seen, there's plenty of modified cars running out here, you know. So I think there was people showing some concern, oh, you know, my car's modified and, you know, maybe the rules won't let it in here. I think it's pretty safe to say that we've got, you know, everything from basically a standard car running through to a 35 GTR that it's pretty safe to say we'll be making well over 1,000 horsepower.
Yes, I would assume that to be doing that sort of speed. It's
So
just past the half track mark.
Yeah. So so absolutely get on down here in your street car. Probably leave the Pro Mod at home if you've got a dedicated race car.
Unless it's registered.
Yeah, fairly rare that we'll tell you to leave a Pro Mod at home here at Sydney Dragway, but when it comes to roll drags and this street style event, you know.
Maybe thinking ahead, we could have like a full Outlaws thing, Pat.
Yeah, potentially. We do have the facility
like
for it.
Like a full run what you brung.
Yeah, and hope you brung enough sort of situation.
Get GC out here with the Nitro funny car.
I'll bring a Nitro funny car, you think, maybe? Yeah, well, we can give it a go. That's going to be a handful, getting the clutch right.
It's going to take some beating, but I think you're right. It's going to throw a few curveballs at the tuners with the clutch settings.
Yeah, even with a nice, you know, well, as much as you can plan the launch on one of those cars from a static launch, the guys have their hands full steering those funny cars down the track. So I think rolling on to 10,000 horsepower worth of nitro blown Hemi is going to be quite. Geez, it'd be a spectacle, though.
Yes, it would be. we'll see how good their no prep no prep tune up is.
Yep, I think definitely have the mags turned down a little bit on that. On
15
that
head gaskets in it.
Yep. Yep. That's right. Yeah, might take a lot of weight off the clutch, I think, in that application bench. There's look at me. We could go go on all night with that. But yeah, look, there is the potential. You know, this is the first time that we've run roll drags at City Dragway, so there's going to be a little bit of feeling out. There's going to be a bit of, you know, calculating there. Great run from the RB30 S13 there, 198 I think is a PB. But yeah, we're going to look back at this event tonight. We're going to go, okay, what worked well, what didn't work so well, how do we need to structure it? Yeah, we'll get some feedback, you know, if there's some constructive criticism from people watching in the stands, on the live stream, from the competitors, you know, we're open to hearing it. You know, we want people to say, hey, look, this was really good, but it'd be great if we could do that. Within reason, of course, you know. We've got to still remember that we are talking about, you know, everyone's safety. And, you know, it's quite easy to get carried away with, you know, the wish list, but sometimes it's not always considered, you know, when it comes to safety aspects. And, you know, we've got to have a bit of an honour system when it comes to the vehicles that are coming here as well. So, you know, we don't know necessarily what your maintenance regime's been like. We don't know, you know, when the last time maybe you had a look at whether the shocks or the brakes were, you know, exactly right on your car. Wow, a bit of a wild start for the two Supras down there. Definitely trying to throw all the horsepower at it, but trying to catch up with some traction at the same time. So yeah, we've got to consider that. You know, we've got to have everyone on their best behaviour as far as the maintenance of the vehicle, so that they're safe to go down the track. And if we start letting everyone get carried away and, you know, running further down the track, and we might have to just sort of look at those things. But we'll work on it. City Dragway is committed to making this a great event, and we want to continue it on throughout the year and going forward.
That's exactly right, Pat. It looks like we've got a little bit of something in the rocket lane. The tractor's out there at the moment, just giving that lane a bit of a quick rub. So what we might do is just throw it to our big screen for a couple of words from some of our sponsors, and we'll be back with you very, very shortly here at Roll Drags Sydney Dragway. We'll be back in a moment.
Speed Addict Clothing Co. Fast clothes for fast people. Shop now at Speed Addict.
Oh, not just ticking boxes. Not a bank.
Talk to Australia's real-life non-bank for home loans, car loans, personal loans. Pepper Money, the home of loan options.
Aeroflow Performance provides a wide range of high-quality performance products for racers, street machines and hot rodders. Aeroflow Performance provides a wide range of high-quality performance products for racers, street machines and hot rodders. From fittings, fuel system components, intake solutions and even turbocharger systems, you can see it all at aeroflowperformance.com.
BikeReview.com.au is Australia's leading website for performance and modified motorcycles. BikeReview.com.au is the only motorcycle-focused website to feature motorcycle drag racing on a regular basis. And in the words of editor Jeff Ware, our involvement with Sydney Dragway is our way of putting back into one of our favourite sports. BikeReview.com.au. Stay informed, up to date and entertained thanks to Para News. Para News is Parramatta and the Cumberland area's leading free and local newspaper, delivering the best content from on-the-ground journalists and providing businesses with direct access to potential customers. News, sport, entertainment, puzzles and so much more. Para News really is the heartbeat of Parramatta and Cumberland, and it's out every Tuesday. Get your free copy at selected locations in the area or check out paranews.com.au.
Bank said no to your home loan? Talk to us.
Not a bank.
Talk to Australia's real-life non-bank for home loans, car loans, personal loans. Pepper Money, the home of loan options.
Whether you're building a street machine or a race car, Aeroflow Performance has a solution for you. Our ever-increasing range features boosted turbocharger systems, Bosch Motorsport products, X-Pro electrical systems, hoses and fittings, bang shift shifters, differential parts and fabrication components. You can see it all on aeroflowperformance.com.
We've always had a few cars. They're all special. The T-Bird.
Oh, that's mine.
The Combi for when we want to get away. The XR8.
It's going to be a classic.
They're all insured with Shannon's,
We've also got Shannon's home and contents cover.
which helps protect our automotive collectibles, tools and memorabilia in the home and garage. If you're motoring enthusiasts like us, it's got to be
Shannon's.
Shannon's, insurance for motoring enthusiasts. Call 13 46 46 for a quote.
I've chosen to use VP racing fuel since I was a teenager racing motocross, which was 21 years ago now. I just have a really personal trust with VP racing fuels.
Running on the ragged edge of blowing up and not, a lot of it has to do with the race fuel, and that's what we rely on, VP racing fuels.
VP has been making racing fuel for 43 years. They're the official fuel of multiple top series globally. No matter where we are in the world, no matter what fuel we need, it's always consistent, it's always perfect and exactly what we're expecting and our tuners expecting. They support myself, my Drift Alliance bros, and for that, I'm extremely thankful. Keep making amazing fuels, and we'll keep out there having fun.
Aeroflow, famous for our massive range of hose, fittings and performance products. Air filters, oil filters, fittings, engine and transmission parts, fuel systems, tanks, silicone hose, exhaust, air conditioning, turbo and nitrous accessories and more. Get your free catalogue and shop online now at aeroflowperformance.com.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, you might have just seen at the end of the live stream there, we just did a little bit of housekeeping here in the lanes. So ran the tractor up and down both of the lanes of the drag strip, just tidying everything up, getting the surface nice and clean again for the races to continue through. And obviously we've seen quite a lot of laps from a lot of cars out there, so there's a few people that might be just cooling off and taking a bit of a break. If you're running a Yeah, running a big horsepower turbocharged sort of engine. Definitely coming around. Hot lapping is going to get certain temperatures up there. So having a little bit of a break, and we just thought we'd take that opportunity to get the Sydney Dragway track officials out there to tidy everything up, make sure everything's nice and safe, and we're back to racing here at Sydney Dragway Roll Drags.
That we are. The Area 51 cars running through the finish line. Pretty much side by side there, only a few kilometres an hour difference between the two.
Some great competition between those guys tonight.
I am liking this 808 wagon, Pat.
It's, I think that's going to be a bit of a fan favourite.
Not running a big tyre into the back of it either, but just getting the power to the ground, and lag's not going to catch it.
No, definitely getting up on whatever tyre is available from the 808.
Well, guys, there's a bit of talk going on down here in the lanes. They want to see this black GTR that's got the radials on the rear end of it and all the carbon fibre over it take on one of these 2J Supras. There's a bit of murmuring going on. I'd like to see it.
I'm pretty sure we can make that happen, Stu.
Nissan versus Toyota.
Well, if anybody's got the power to make it happen, Stu, it's you, mate.
Well, yeah, I can try, but I don't like the chances. JJ. I'll tell you what, though, those Supras have been putting on an awesome show all night. They've been neck and neck either side of each other, but this R35, I mean, it's quick, as are the gas cars. So, you know, I reckon it'll be a good race.
Just listening to it on your mic there, Stu. Off he goes, taking the lead. Ooh, big step out at half track, but that driver staying in the throttle. A little bit of smoke after the finish line.
Yeah, definitely trying to tame a lot of horsepower there. Probably in, I don't know, I'm going to say third gear, maybe after the rollout, around half the racing distance. So, yeah, not quite as quick as the cars run before, but that was a bit of a wild ride.
Yeah, it certainly got your attention.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we've got the Barra-powered XD about to take on Steve Sarkis in the LS. Sigma?
Sigma's been holding its own tonight, but the Falcon laying down some good passes. Nice and straight this time around.
173 to actually a 179 for the Sigma. So that's up there with the fastest pass of the night.
Well, Steve was telling me, Pat, just before he went out, I just went down and said hello and had a chat with him. He was telling me he's struggling for traction, and what he's had to do is bring the car in and get it up into top gear, and that's where he's getting his best passes.
That would explain the extra mile per hour or kilometres per hour as we're reading tonight, Stu. So good to see that everyone's sort of figuring things out there and you know, playing with the setup and how they're rolling out.
Falcons also put down some good numbers. Going to show the Mustang the way here down the airflow lane. And a nice strong pass once again.
Could again be one of the highest numbers I think the Red Falcons run, 188. I don't think it's quite cracked into 190s, but it's knocking right on the door.
It sure is. Only probably a pound off the 190 mark.
Yeah.
Or not even.
One more PSI, it'll be fine. Famous last words.
There's only one way to find out, Pat.
Yeah, exactly. Don't be scared. All right, so just waiting a couple more cars to come around. This time, as we mentioned, there's definitely some cars out there that have seen quite a few passes. There's definitely some cars out there that have probably used up quite a bit of fuel reserves because of the amount of passes that they've managed to reel off. And probably a few that are getting a little warm after doing quite so many laps, which is yeah, it's a little different for us here at Sydney Dragway. Normally, there's a little bit more time in between each pass, and no doubt as we progress along with roll drags, more and more cars, more and more competitors are going to turn up, and we're going to have a much larger field to get through before each car comes back around again. So, just another thing that we're going to be working on as we improve and embrace the roll drag event.
Ford versus Holden battle here. I think this Falcon's been putting down some pretty good passes, as has the Red Commodore. The Turbo Power just pulling away at the top end of the racetrack. Taking the win there, 162 kilometres now through the finish line.
And I think it's important to note as well, Bushy, that there was a little bit of adverse weather around the north side of Sydney this evening, which we know can sort of get people a little bit nervous.
It sort of came through right at the wrong time, didn't it?
Yep. Not a mention of it all day long, and then certain areas in Sydney just got.
It's like an hour and a half, 2 hours before we were due to start. Like
Yeah.
Just was far enough away that people sort of started to think that they have second thoughts.
Yeah, maybe they didn't want to roll the dice, so
kept
that's
a few people away, unfortunately.
And that's perfectly fine, but always important to note that we are at the mercy of the gods sometimes. But tonight's been great here at the track.
Sure has. Good mix of cars, everything from Falcons to Ferraris to Alphas to Saabs even.
Yeah, and that is. I shouldn't laugh necessarily, but it's not the vehicle itself. It's just the fact that how rare it is to comment that a Saab is running at Sydney Dragway. But also, I don't think anyone expected a 488 Ferrari to turn up for the very first roll drags. Another couple of high-powered barrows off down the track there. The red F6 running through. Yeah, we do need a bit of advice every now and again. Sometimes when we're in the when you're in the car, the helmet's on, the visor's down, the red mist descends, and got to grab another gear.
Well, I'll admit one thing that I've sort of noticed with my car is that with the helmet on, it's not particularly loud.
Yeah.
So it's not like a typical carbide V8 or whatever. And my car's still running a full exhaust, so.
Yep.
It's not an unmuffled car. I mean, a turbo 4 without an exhaust on it is pretty loud still, but certainly when you're running a full exhaust and you've got the helmet on, there's not a huge amount of, and I think my hearing's reasonably good. But yeah, that's what I've found.
No, I think you're right, and again, the difference between launching a car from a standing start with traditional drag racing versus coming out with a roll drag start, a rolling start, you might be caught out with how quickly you meet the end of the gear.
Yes.
So you're used to coming off the line, and just that muscle memory thing.
Yes.
You're launching off the line, first gear, and you've got X amount of time to grab the shifter, pick that next gear. Whereas this time you're rolling along, you're looking at the guy in the other lane, you're driving along, and then all of a sudden you floor it, and then bang, you're straight into the limiter already if you're still in first gear, for example. So, as Stu mentioned, Steve Sarkis in the Sigma, he's actually coming through the start of the roll in top gear already. So, shouldn't have to worry about meeting the limiter too early.
No.
In that one, you would hope not.
The only way that's going to happen is if it's braking traction, I dare say.
Yeah, and for quite a while too. So, yeah, definitely some things to get used to if you've been out here drag racing at the strip, but now giving roll drags a bit of a try out.
Well, I can see one of our viewers on the live streams asking about roll drags for bikes.
Yeah, definitely a hotly contested a very common question that we've had in the lead up to the roll drags one. Right now, we're going to get the schedule down. We're going to get, our processes, our procedures nailed down, figure out what's working for, terminal speeds and things like that. But we'll be assessing the bikes definitely coming forward. All right, another pair of cars making their way towards the tunnel here, and we've been advised that there's definitely a few cars that basically a little bit exhausted down there. So we've had quite a lot of runs. I mean, it would have to be excess of 20 runs for a couple of cars out there, wouldn't you say, Bushy?
Definitely, Pat. I think there was the early comers probably did. They had 4 or 5 in the first hour.
Yeah.
So, you know, to amass 15 to 20 is probably not that big a ask.
Not at all. So I think there's quite a few cars down there that have perhaps had enough. They might have. You know, I know I'm joking about it a lot. They might have used a lot of fuel doing this. It's not a long run, but when you're turning out some decent horsepower,
yeah, your mileage doesn't reflect very well.
R100 getting on the gas very early there on the rollout. But the Sigma, Steven Sarkis, 182 is a new record for him in the Nitrous LS.
It was a good pass from the Sigma, but look at the Mazda, 175. I mean, I know he had a pretty good run and start. The thing was braking traction in the burnout box.
I think, it was definitely a running start there. But
might have been doing slightly more than 60 past the
I've got a feeling. You've got a feeling. Setting the pace or outpacing, either one. The red F6, but we're going to continue running. If you are, guys, if you are a competitor and you're in the pits area, just letting your car cool off, it looks like that we might be running for at least another 15 minutes or so, because we can see that a lot of the cars have gotten a bit warm, or the competitors have had their fill for the night, which is a lot of running. But if you are still thinking about having another pass, please make your way to the staging lanes. Oh, bit of a red light there, bit of a false start, so that's okay. Everyone's all safe. We're just going to let those cars roll through, and they'll be able to come back around for another pass. But as mentioned, guys, if you are in the pit area here at Sydney Dragway tonight and you're considering running again, please make your way down to the staging lanes. We will be making a call on how many more runs we're going to make in the next 15 minutes or so. And as you see, the red lights are flashing on the tree down there. Folks, if you're watching from home or on the live stream or here at the track, with that run that was about to start, there was a significant variation between the pace and the position of the cars. So we did throw the reds before that race got started, because really when you roll out, we've mentioned this earlier in the night, the left lane is the one that sets the pace. When the starter gives you the go-ahead, you want to start rolling out from under the tunnel. Get up to around 60 kilometres an hour. If you're in the rocket lane or the right lane, then your job is to follow the pace of that car in the aeroflow lane. And then once you see the green lights, that's your signal to go. If you're too far away from the other car, or if there's a significant difference in the speed of the two cars, we will throw the red light and abort that run. We don't want you to stop on track if you do see the red lights, so please continue to run down the end of the tree. But we're hearing some reports that there may be a little bit of perspiration down there, Stewie.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening down here, boys. Just a little bit of spits of rain that are happening at the moment. So hopefully this will just pass over, and we will be able to get back into getting back into some racing. So just sit tight, ladies and gentlemen, and hopefully this wet stuff will leave and we'll get back into it.
Thanks for that update down there, Stewie. We're definitely got fingers crossed to see that this might just be a little flash on the pan, as it were. we've got a few more cars that have come back around in the staging lane, so everyone hoping to get a couple more runs in.
Do the modern cars, perhaps a little bit of a silly question, I hate to put you on the spot, is there an option with some of the modern cars with all the tunability to set like a speed limiter type arrangement? If it was that critical?
Yeah, well, it definitely could be possible. I mean, I'm familiar with, aftermarket ECUs, like a Haltech, for example. You can set a condition for a pit limiter, or a speed limiter, as it were.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely some really, really tricky things getting done with late model factory ECUs now. I know Falcons have a tuning system called PCM Tech, where they're able to, I mentioned it earlier in the night, they're able to reprioritize the buttons on, say, your steering wheel. If you've got, audio controls or cruise controls, they can reprogram what they do.
Like a shortcut key almost.
Yep, like a shortcut. So instead of, hitting the plus button on your cruise control set, that all of a sudden is the rolling anti-lag. Now, there's probably nothing to say that you couldn't do that with speed as well. But generally, if you're going to run a rolling anti-lag or a limiter on that, that's going to limit your speed too, I guess. So, so yeah, definitely ways around it.
Yeah, I just think obviously there's a lot of creative people out there that have these ideas on how to get things to happen with electronics, and a lot of the time it's not necessarily how they adapt a function or start with a function and then build a parameter to that that then gives them a result in the end. It might not be a traditional way of achieving something, but the end result is very similar, if not the same.
That's right. There's the old saying, there's more than one way to skin a cat, and there's definitely more than one way to roll drag and get your car out of the hole. So, yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of people that have been working on that. Obviously, roll racing is becoming a popular thing here in Australia and overseas. So, a lot of shops are focusing on working those things out. And luckily, we did just have a very light sprinkle, but things are back nice and safe, so we're sending a couple more cars down the track there. Koval in the GFB car versus that WRX. Still, he's got the finger on the hazard button as if a racer would have his finger on the trans brake button. I think it's just as quick. Right, Matt 808 out in airflow lane, trying to get all of that rotary power down. We've got the Evo in the rocket lane, 177 for 808. Wow. That was a great run. 171 for the Evo though is right on the performance of that car tonight. So very consistent.
I'm loving how the Mazda's getting the power down, Pat. There's no, it doesn't seem to be any wheel spin or nothing. It just.
I think there's a little bit of a shimmy when it comes right up on boost, but aside from that, it's getting out of town. Another strong pass from the red F6, 186 kilometres an hour in the 8th. The blue RX3, 119. Definitely not on the boil there for this one.
He has put down a couple of good passes, the RX3, but has struggled a little bit as well. Not quite as probably as consistent as the driver would have liked. Here's this R35 Skyline back again. Let's see what's his best so far. About 221. 221, yes.
Think, a whopping 221 kilometres an hour in the 8th. So we're just organising the other car to run through with the 35. So it looks like we've got the R100 rotary powered coupe.
Yeah, does the Skyline hang back and give him the hit even more so?
Well, I mean, he's in the rocket lane, so he's got to keep pace with the R100. And 35 putting all of the horsepower down, running through for a 228 kilometres an hour. I think saving the best for last on that pass from the black 35.
Yep, Big step up in speed there, Pat. And our friend in the Saab back again in the airflow lane, taking on the Mustang. This is the rerun of that race before.
Yeah.
A lot closer towards the start line this time.
Definitely a clean run. And the Mustang is going to edge out the Saab there. And Steve, I believe that was our last pass of the night, of the very first Roll Drags event at Sydney Dragway. So I think we need to say a big thank you for everyone that jumped on this new initiative from Sydney Dragway as a competitor and a spectator. Even if you were just watching on the live stream from home or work or wherever it is that you've tuned in from, I want to say a big thank you for supporting this new event that we're so excited about. I think we've had a great turnout considering there was a bit of a bit of weather around that might have scared a few people off. We can't always control that, but I think the way that the event ran tonight really speaks for itself and shows a great deal of potential for this going forward.
100%, Pat. I think we've done a good showing for the first time here at Sydney Dragway, and let's hope we can build on that and build a bit of a following and spread the word a little bit. So if you've been out here as a competitor tonight or a spectator, tell your friends about it. The next time that the Roll Drags comes to Sydney Dragway, jump on board, maybe get out here in your car and have a play, see how you go.
Absolutely, give it a go. And if you were a competitor or a spectator, we are open to some of your feedback as well. So if you've got some constructive feedback for the event to improve it from from the driver's seat or from the spectator's point of view, please come forward and offer that up, and we will take it on board because we're really looking forward to running a lot more of these events going forward.
100%, Pat. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out to Sydney Dragway tonight, the competitors, the spectators, those that participated in our live streams on YouTube and Facebook. Your comments and chat is always welcome, and we enjoy reading some of the comments and talking about some of those that are able to be publicly spoken about on air. So it's always great to have that involvement from you guys that can't necessarily get to the racetrack. From Pat, Stu, Benji and myself, I'd like to once again thank everybody for tonight, all the officials out there that have been in the weather conditions. We look forward to seeing you all again very soon here at Sydney Dragway. Don't forget, of course, Race for Real next Wednesday night here at Sydney Dragway. There's a test and tune on Saturday, I believe, as well as the next event. And we all look forward to seeing you all again here shortly. Be safe on the roads and have a good night.